Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 179, Kill Bill Volume 1 from 2003. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Gold Bond Medicated Foot Powder. Triple action relief, relieves itch, absorbs moisture, controls foot odor, and contains 1% menthol to keep your feet nice and cool. Gold Bond Medicated Foot Powder.
Well, shout out to the Foot Doctor. Foot Doctor Foot Powder, Gold Bond. I never really knew how important Gold Bond was until we met and I stayed at your place. You're like, just put it everywhere. And I was like, oh, okay. And like, yeah, it works.
Dude, I know. I feel like I was the gateway drug to a lot of people for Gold Bond. I keep not the foot powder, just the extra strength, the green bottle right here on my under my coffee table at all times, because you never know when you need it. So
I feel like it has a reputation as being like for old men.
yeah.
But, you know, what's not to love about not sweating, not chafing? This actually sounds like an ad now. Not sweating, not chafing. It smells good. You get to do like the LeBron thing if you want to do the LeBron thing. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah, I don't think you should breathe in the Gold Bond powder. It's probably really not good for your lungs. Yes, you could do the LeBron thing with it. It's hot. It's humid. We're in the Northeast. Sometimes you just gotta Gold Bond up all the parts, man. Highly recommended, for sure, actually.
Well, after the break, we are talking about Kill Bill Volume 1. On Friday on this very feed, we'll have a bonus episode, Kill Bill Volume 2, not behind the paywall at Patreon, but available for everyone. So in 3 days, come back for Kill Bill Volume 2. But Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
I have been watching a lot of hockey. We're getting to the end of the regular season for hockey, so I've been watching a lot of Penguins games, and I spent like pretty much all last weekend watching the NFL draft. It occurs over like Thursday night, then Friday night's rounds 2 and 3, and then Saturday all day is rounds 4 through 7. Yeah, that was about it. I haven't been watching, I mean, we were watching like dumb stuff, but I think that's it. I'm getting ready for Rachel's parents to come visit tomorrow, so we're gonna get to see them this weekend. Haven't seen them in a little bit, so it'll be nice. They surprised, don't know that we changed our living room around like I told you guys.
Ooh.
We've been hiding it from them, yes.
What if this was the episode that they're like, hey,
we're driving down
to the pod, Rachel's parents.
Yeah, they're driving down. They're like, let's throw on some Too Fast, see what's going on here. Actually, they can't, because it's not going to come out by tomorrow. They're driving tomorrow. So.
No, they're also patrons. Oh, no, it won't even be on the Patreon.
That's
tomorrow.
what I mean, yeah. Definitely not.
I'm
the other cool thing was, so when we bought the new couches, I wanted the legs of the couches to be taller. And so yesterday, Rachel went to IKEA and bought like new legs that are like, I think like maybe 6 inches to like raise the couches up. So they like have like a nice underneath them now. And the cats have been going fucking nuts for it.
Oh, yeah.
Like Milo and Pierre can fit under it. Milo has these toys. I don't know if you have these cat toys that are just like...
My cat's 17. She doesn't play with toys.
That's I understandable. That's what I was saying. Fair. But I think, didn't somebody just get a new kitten? Didn't somebody get a kitten?
Haley got a kitten.
Haley has a kitten. I thought you were like somebody else, like somebody in your realm has gotten a kitten, but I don't know who it is. Milo loves these toys that are just like, I don't know. It's like wrapping paper, kind of. It's like the really shiny wrapping paper. It's just like made into a ball, and it just like makes like that crinkly sound when you play with it.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
He fucking loves these things. It's like one of his favorite toys, and he loves like playing hockey with it. And when we had the old couches, I found them under the old couches, and then we got the new couches, and he would play with it for like 3 minutes and then throw it under the couch. But now, because we raised the couches up, he can like play under the couches, and he's like been stoked for the past day. So that's pretty much what I've been up to. That's my nonsense story. What have you been up to, brother?
What have I done? I have not watching a ton of movies, and I fell behind on my, like, quote-unquote, fell behind on my TV watching, so I've been catching up on that. I watched 2 movies on Saturday, one called The Dirties, which is a high school movie, a found-footage movie that I told Brian about,
cool.
and I think he would enjoy. It's good, it's interesting. And then I watched a movie called The Silent Partner, which is 1978, so my friend Bob, who I'm doing the podcast with, doing How to Win the Lottery with, he loves Robert Altman, but he also loves Elliot Gould, who has been in a bunch of the Robert Altman movies, but this is not a Altman movie, this is a Daryl Duke movie. But it's a Canadian movie where Elliot Gould plays a bank teller, and he figures out that a mall Santa, played by Christopher Plummer, is going to rob the bank. And so he kind of concocts a plan to like get most of the money set aside because it's the holiday season. There's all sorts of money in the bank. News reports, because Santa actually robs the bank, like early in the movie. This is not a spoiler. Like in the first 20 minutes, or whatever, he robs the bank. And the news reports like, oh, the banker got away with $50,000, but like the Santa knows he only got around with like $2,000. And so Elliot Gould has like this $48,000, and like he's the silent partner because like Santa's like, I want my money. And so it's Elliot Gould and Christopher Plummer. It's a really cool movie. There's a great action thing at the end, like a really cool moment at the end, a really young John Candy, lots of beautiful 70s women. It's weird that it's Canadian. Like, it feels like it's a New York movie, but it's not a New York movie. It's the kind of movie that, like, everybody who likes heisty, but not even heist, like, spy, like, tense kind of, not, you know, that kind of movie would enjoy. It's on the Criterion Channel to stream, but, like, I don't know that anybody's seen it. Like, it's got 7,500 people on Letterboxd, which, as we know, is a decent amount, but not a ton, right? Yeah, but, you know, like, looking at my rankings, like, my friend, like, Bob gave it 5 stars. Our past guest and probably future guest, Garrett Smith, gave it 5 stars. Like, it's a movie that people love, just nobody talks about, but it's great. So it's a really good movie. So check out The Silent Partner if you like, you know, tense thrillers with some like gnarly stuff, like really kind of grisly stuff, but also, you know, really good. So I endorse The Silent Partner.
I think Rachel would like that then, because she's always like up for heist movies, right? Like that's like one of her favorite genres of movies. So.
Yeah, it's almost like a heist in reverse, and that becomes a heist, I like the premise. Sort of. So
it sounds cool. You sold it to me for sure. Silent Partner.
1978. What else have I been up to? Anything of note? The Yankees have been winning, which has been good. Oh, I've been reading a lot because we're going to start the book pod starts in less than a month now, which means I need to get to those books. I need to start reading because we're going to record our next episode.
Do you release them like monthly so people can read the book, or weekly?
We're going to do them every other week, but we announced the entire reading list. So if people want to read ahead, I know that Montez read the book. She's going to write in. Cool. Rachel tweeted this week. She was like, give me a book to read. And then Mike tagged Lottery Pod on Twitter. And I was like, hey, read this. And she's like, oh, that sounds good. So I don't know if she's going to get to it or not. But I was like, email in. Let us know your thoughts.
Yes. Definitely.
That's the kind of thing that we're going to record a little bit in advance. But if people email in before the episode comes out, we can tack on an addendum. Because like we do want it to be interactive. So if you are interested in joining an online sort of book club, podcast book club, go to cageclub.me/lottery. You can see the intro post there, the 10 books that we're doing. Join the book club and then email in. You can read out of order if you want and just, you know, get a thing in for the future book. But all 10 books in the quote unquote first season, which is going to run through like October, is all available at cageclub.me if you want to follow along. But it's going to be good, I think. So I've been reading. I burned through. So Bret Easton Ellis, I had 2 books of his left. And the one that I read was this book called Lunar Park, where he is the main character, which is kind of weird, where it kind of sets up like this fictional alternate reality where he's being haunted. And like it's cool, and then it gets kind of dumb. But it's interesting that like Chuck Palahniuk, I don't know if you know, but like he wrote Fight Club 2 as a graphic novel, but he's a character in it. It's just like, what are you doing, man? And like other people have like inserted themselves into things as themselves, like as the author, right? But like Chuck Palahniuk is not the star of Fight Club 2. It's like the narrator still, right? So he's the star of this thing, and like he marries this woman and they have these kids and they're like in upstate New York or whatever. And like it's this whole alternate reality that's interesting. So I burned through that. I was reading that a lot over the weekend. Now I'm on his last book called Imperial Bedrooms, which is a sequel to Less Than Zero. So he's doing like some kind of like weird kind of like, you know, what we'll talk about after the break with Tarantino, like remixing things. He's kind of remixing his own career, writing an alternate reality of his life, and now doing a sequel to a book that came out like 25 years earlier. Like it just strange things, man.
Very
but
strange.
Yeah, just reading and watching these couple movies, but not much. It's been raining here a lot this week, so
it's been raining here too. It's shitty. Yeah. I agree.
But I think that's about it. So we have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Millam, and Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke Hayden, Renato DiDonato, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting us at the $5 level or above. Joe, pick a number. I'm trying to figure out which ones we did not do. I guess 4 or 5. Pick 4 or 5.
5.
Early access to the Fast and Furious Minute Quiz. We have not made the quiz public yet. We finished the first quiz. We're working on the second quiz.
Yeah.
But If you want the Fast and Furious Minute Quiz, I think I mentioned last episode that I put together the Q&A, the FAQ, the links, all the links in one place.
Yes.
TooFastTooForever.com. Take the 110, I think, question quiz. Very difficult. See what you get and let us know. TooFastTooForever.com. Even $1 gets you in the door, and your generosity is eternally appreciated.
It is. It really is.
If you would rather email us, we have an email address, family@cageclub.me, and we got about 8 or 9 things, mostly short, I think, but we'll find out.
Cool.
So Jerry sent in a screenshot, just says quiz score. Jerry took the quiz. There's 113 questions, and he got 70 right. So he's still in that middle,
pretty
where
good
most
range.
People are. That's the good range,
Yeah.
Yes. Shout out to Jerry. Good job there.
That's, I mean, hey, you heard us take it, and we made it, so
yep.
Good job.
Jason wrote in last week, which is now 2 weeks ago as this comes out on the main feed, that says, Happy Birthday Fast 5, released on this date, April 29th, 10 years ago. So the movie just turned 10, so happy birthday to that. And I think also The Rock had a birthday this week, so happy birthday to The Rock as well.
Oh, cool, nice. Yeah, I think The Rock did have a birthday this week, that's right.
The Rock's had a big week, man.
He is.
We'll talk
get
about
to
it.
that too. Yeah, I know, I was just thinking. Go ahead.
Next email from Wells Lamont, subject line 69 large.
69 large. Nice.
Says, so the font thing is strange. Everything I write in my notes is big letters until I start a new paragraph. Not sure how this happened, but I don't know how to fix it. If you see big fonts in different paragraphs through an email, it's because I had multiple pages of notes. Okay, so I know what's going on here now, Wells. So
What?
In the Notes app, I'm assuming you have an iPhone. In the Notes app, the first line is the title of the notes doc.
Yes,
so
that's true. That's right, yeah.
If you're just writing the notes in there, which makes sense now, the entire first paragraph you're writing as the title of the notes doc. So when you're copying and pasting it into Gmail, it thinks it's a title and then a thing, which I don't mind. I think it's very funny. But now I'm just glad that we solved the mystery.
It also tracks for him because he always writes the long subjects on the emails, right? So it's just as if he put everything in the subject bar.
It's wonderful. I mean, it's exactly what he does. He's just doing it in 2 different apps. So I don't know. The 2 worst Bonds, in my opinion, the only 2 I don't like and actually hate them, are Die Another Day and The World Is Not Enough. Okay.
No Pierce Brosnan then, huh?
Pierce Brosnan made 4 Bond movies. Those 2 and 2 of my faves, GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies. I played the video game on N64 religiously and didn't watch the movie until well after I beat the game. It was the coolest thing to compare everything between the 2. I'm sure it would have been just as cool had I watched the movie first, maybe even better.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I did not watch a Bond this week. I don't remember what I was doing on Monday, but I'm I don't feel like watching a movie, so I just put it off for another week. Because I've basically been watching 1 Bond a week every Monday, so I'll just do it next week. But no Bond updates. Now that I'm out of the Connery era, I should have been excited to watch one. I just, didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's what it was. The Yankees, this is going to make no sense, but when the Yankees don't play, I kind of don't know what to do with my evening.
Okay, nice.
Even though it has, I have way more time, I know, okay, from 7 to 10, I'm on the couch and I'm, reading or listening to something and I'm watching the Yankees, and I either go for my walk before or after and watch a movie after or whatever. I sort of have, this, kind of, not rigid schedule, but,
structured,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the Yankees aren't on. I'm it's 6:30. I'm I don't have to do. I don't have to be anywhere. I'm I can just do whatever. And so I just what that means is I wind up doing nothing. So by having more time, I actually do less. I don't know. It doesn't make
No,
any sense.
I totally relate because the Penguins play pretty much every other day, right? And when they don't play, and then now Temptation Island's over, so that's on Tuesday. So some of our other shows we can't catch up on. When it hits a day today, they're not playing, we're recording. But if this is a day that we weren't recording for any reason, I'm what the fuck do I do tonight? I totally get it. I'm with you.
Weird. It's weird, man. I've been there for 2 or 3 Discords. I only missed the last one. I'm still upset. Give me redemption. Well, maybe at the beginning of lap 9. We'll figure out something to do in lap 9, which we will
have the
announce.
next movie. We have the next movie picked out for our next Discord.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
We can do it. I was just thinking that too. I was we haven't done one in a while. We need to do one soon.
Not sure if this has been previously brought up, but can you name the Friday reference in 8F8F?
I was just watching Friday the other day. Well, the next Friday the other day. I think Comedy Central or one of these channels was playing Friday, next Friday, and Friday after next, 1, 2, 3, and we were watching next Friday.
I had never seen any of them. I saw the first one last summer for the first time, but I've not seen the sequels.
My friends fucking loved them when we were in grade school. They thought it was the funniest movies ever.
He says the Friday reference. Oh, I know this line in the movie.
What?
I didn't know it was a Friday reference. Comes from Tej after Ramsey asks him and Roman what her last name is. They say some things, and Tej says, "Hey, Miss Parker."
Yeah. That's right, because his name is Tej Parker. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Watching the bonus scenes and gag reels from 5F, and they're as classic as you would expect. Only a few deleted scenes, but when you've watched this movie at least 25 times, it's nice to see something you haven't yet. Giselle had some funny reels. Rock had a homoerotic gesture / assault which made me laugh. I'm not saying it anymore because you should watch it if you haven't. The Enter Federal Agent Hobbs bonus feature is inspiring. Barack and Vin talking good about each other briefly and talking about how badass P Walks is. Ooh, that sounds doubly nice.
That is pretty cool. We've never watched the the bloopers or anything, right? We just did the extended scenes. We like saved them.
Yeah, the missing pieces lab, we were going to do everything. And then when I was like, oh no, that's crazy. Why, what?
Why cram it for no reason when we could just drag this out forever? So
I think that's what the idea, and like you rightly talked me out of it, that like on a Tuesday because that was when we were doing 2 a week. I was like, okay, on a Tuesday we can watch like the Fast and the Furious, and then on Friday we can do all the deleted scenes and bonus features and whatever. You're like, I don't want to do that. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. We'll cover them at some point because there's a lot of features. I mean, we did all the deleted scenes. We're pretty confident we got all those. But there's a lot more to do.
We watched part of the first feature. I think we watched the first feature for the first one when we were doing that. And we were like, yeah, we got enough. Like the deleted scenes is good enough for now. We don't need to make 4-hour episodes to cover all of this. Well, we could just drag this out. So
yeah. I have a question. If they were going to break Dom out of jail, why'd he turn himself in? Is it because he didn't think he was going to get life and planned to do his time and go free, but then got life and decided they needed to break him out? Or did he have nothing to do with it and was surprised by the whole breakout? Good question.
The only reason why you turn yourself in is because you would think that you were going to get out of it, right? And it seemed like everybody was kind of surprised by the, like, you get life in jail. Everybody's like, what the fuck? And then Dom's like, gotta do my time. But really, he knows that now they're going to break him out.
Yeah, it did seem like the judge had a vendetta that he wanted to make a statement out of Dominic Toretto, right? And so I think maximum, what was it? No, it wasn't life in prison, was it? 25 years? It was a long time. Whatever it was a long-ass time.
Yeah, it was a long time.
It doesn't say it's not that, like, 5 to 10. Like, he's going to do 5 to 10.
Yeah, if he had, like, a 2-year bid, like, a 3-year bid, and it was, like, and he's like, okay, look, after a year, I'm going to get out on parole. Like, Dom would do that. Everybody would be like, cool, he's gone for a year. Like, that's fine. It would fit even in the storyline, right? It's like, okay, he went to jail, he came out in a year. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Your guess is as good as ours, Wells. Just realized they throw it back to 2F for a second when Rome starts running cop cars off the road like he was back in Barstow in the Derby. They put his skills to use 3 movies later. Cool.
Yes, they do. I always forget that he's like a demolition derby master. So his wheeling and dealing there in the car, pushing cars off the road, absolutely tracks. It's like a positive character trait that they continued. I don't think they meant to at all, but yes, I agree.
Who knows? Okay, dudes, I'll catch you on the other side. Until next time, peace easy. Well, thank you, Wells.
Thank you, Wells. Thank you for writing in. Always good to hear from you, brother.
The next email from Justin Kleinman, subject line, One Fast, One Furious in El Teatro. Just got back from seeing number 1 in the theater. It was the first time I've seen it on the big screen. It was so much fun. There were maybe 10 other people besides my friend and I. Definitely a few little things we both noticed on such a big screen.
Oh, what were they?
The one thing we both saw that we were both amused by, or very amused by, happens in the 93rd minute, a minute you called Spray and Pray. The minute features some bullet-style car jumps. In one of them, there's an apartment in the background. On the second floor balcony at 9311, you can see the person who lives in the apartment leaning out over the edge with a camera taking pictures of the stunt.
Oh.
We found this to be really funny, imagining him sitting in his apartment all day, waiting for them to get up and set up, and roll film so you can take that picture. Too Fast next Friday. That's cool.
That's really cool. And something we didn't catch.
No. Do you remember? So a shout out to one of our other podcasts. Remember when we watched War of the Worlds for Magic Mike's and a movie that Channing Tatum is not in?
He got cut out of, yeah.
We did that in person on New Year's Eve at your house.
Yeah.
In that movie, I think they filmed that in Boston, and the way that they got all these extras, because, like, you know, that movie's about an alien invasion, and there's a scene where everybody, like, runs outside because there's, like, an alien happening, but obviously it's all CGI, all edited after the fact, but they wanted all these people outside to be like, oh my god, there's an alien, I want to take pictures, but they just like, hey, Tom Cruise is here, come outside and take pictures, and so they just sent everybody outside. So it's just funny, like, when people are, I guess, in that case, told about this. In this case, they probably just saw a sign like, you know, filming here this week or whatever, right? Like, just being ready for the picture, which I think is it's awesome.
That is really funny that they could just be like, Tom Cruise is walking down your street, and everybody be like, what the fuck? And just like run outside like, oh my god, it's real.
Yeah, if I remember right, I think the deal was like they could take pictures of him as long as they got the shot for the movie first, which was, yeah, cool.
Yeah, and he's an alien anyways, so that's totally fine.
Thank you, Justin. Enjoy Too Fast. Let us know. I'm sure you will email me again. Let us know. I mean,
that's cool. That was super cool.
So this episode will come out on the Patreon feed before you go to see that movie in theaters. So I'm sure I think you listen generally on Fridays. If you listen to this, I'm sure you will. Send in what your thoughts are. If you found something new, I mean, we haven't broken it down minute by minute. So like seeing something new for the first time in the first movie is kind of I don't want to, pump us up, but like a bigger deal because like we spent so much goddamn time
Time, so
watching
much
that
time,
movie.
so much time watching that movie. But yeah, to find something new is super awesome. And also, I'm glad you're just enjoying it. I think it will be fun. I'm jealous. Like I said, I don't have any around me that do it. So enjoy it for us all, brother, please.
Yeah. Next, 2 emails in a row from Jenny McMullen. First one, subject line, sent from home on a Sunday.
What's up, Jenny? How are you doing?
Hi guys, glad Joe enjoyed my quote, almost perfect last email so much. Today, as I was deleting some emails, I came across the vote for bonus movie 1. It mentioned blank, and you having no ideas, might I suggest none other than a certain movie that I have thought about. According to one article I found, the timeline for those movies, this franchise, is as unclear as the Fast and Furious, but this movie in particular is not only modern, but future.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
You could also consider an earlier movie, the second one in the franchise, as it is mostly cars, except that doesn't quite fit the theme, but we could have done it for different... Yes. No spoiler,
Yes.
read on. I also saw the trailer for F9, didn't get to rewatch it as it was on my mom's TV, and I think we were live, no DVR, or maybe it was during the Kentucky Derby. Looks exciting. My mom wondered who one of them was, and I said John Cena. Well, that's it for now. Later, Jenny. Oh my God, John Cena's in the movie?
How did she even see him? How did she?
Whoa. So, like, there's certain wrestling things that I know, like You Can't See Me, and there's a line, I think in last week's Young Rock and this
Yes.
week's Young Rock, where I was just like, that's got to be a thing, and I Google it, and like, it's a thing. So, like,
Well-
You Can't See Me is a wrestling thing that's like the one thing I know about him, right? So,
Yeah, he says, "Shut your mouth and know your role." And I always start like giggling when he drops them, and Rachel's like, "Is that like a rock?" Like I'm like, "Yeah, it's a rock quote." They like threw one of those in there, like because like she doesn't know them either, right? But like I'll be like, "Ha!" Like, and she'll be like, "Okay."
I mean, in this one, he calls somebody a Rudy Poo candy ass. I was like, that's not a line that's
Yeah.
made up for the show, right? So,
Yeah, it's definitely not.
So, Jenny, in response to your email, I have thought about this movie. So I will say that this movie is a movie that we covered for a different podcast.
Ooh,
and I
big hint.
thought
Big hint.
Mike has covered another movie in the series for his podcast. And I thought about putting, because like it's a slam dunk. Like it's a movie we've mentioned on the podcast very recently.
And many, many times, actually.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
very true. Very, very true.
Pretty much every episode we mentioned
Almost
this
every
movie.
episode. And I've thought about it, and like we could, that's a movie that I would watch literally any day.
Same. I would like to rewatch it.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, there's a balancing act because, like, a lot of the patrons picked this lap because I guess this lap was more appealing. And so I'm trying to balance, like, we have fewer slots, but we'll figure it a way. I think we'll do that movie because
Why not?
we
We
gotta
can do it as a patron movie at the worst case. We'll figure it out.
And now the timeline's going to become even more confusing because here's another hint, adding another movie to the franchise. So
Ooh, nice.
if anybody out there doesn't know what we're talking about, you should. Like,
If you
should.
listen, you should definitely figure it out. Yeah.
And also, if you don't feel bad.
Oh, yeah, very true. Good point. Joey tells me the movies that we're going to cover, and I forget them between the beginning and the end of the episode. So, yeah, don't
so
feel bad.
last week, as you listened on the show, Joe forgot to do like 2/3 of his homework.
Yes.
And then today, he's like, I'm going to be good. I did the minute we watched Young Rock, and now I'm watching Pulp Fiction. And I'm like, Pulp Fiction? You're like, oh, sorry, Kill Bill. I was like, dude, like, if you showed up here watching Pulp Fiction, I'd be like, what? Like, God damn it. Like, I don't know what more I have to... Like, I literally have a document where it's like, this is what we're talking about. This is what you need to watch. That you check.
Yeah, this was in reply to Joey sending me the pictures
The art,
he's going to
yep.
use of Uma Thurman in Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm watching the movie.
I'm watching
Like,
Pulp Fiction right now. I'll be ready.
Watching
It's like,
Pulp Fiction right now.
and, like, it was one of those things where I'm like... I can't tell if this is a joke or if your brain is broken.
Or
which
if I
it's
need to
the
catch
latter.
him before he finishes Pulp Fiction and didn't watch Kill Bill. But no, I was actually watching Kill Bill. I just said Pulp Fiction.
Wild.
It was okay. At the
Absolutely wild.
At the end of it, it was all right. Yeah.
All right. The next email from Jenny is sent from home on a Sunday evening. So with
Ooh.
time progressed. Okay.
Okay.
Hi, guys. I've got exciting news for you again as I was scrolling through my email when I came across an email from December with a Patreon link for podcasts. I pasted in my Apple Podcast app and it worked. Oh, good.
Good,
I got the
finally, yay.
Patreon feed and Hobbs and Shaw Lap 8's already downloaded. I will go back and listen to the bonus episodes. Looking forward to the Varsity Blues episode with Brian Slumber Party Rodriguez and the sensual microphone. I previewed the first few minutes. Will wonders never cease? Spoken like a true Gen Xer. Later, Jenny. Well, that's background. She was having all of the trouble in the world with Patreon.
The link,
Finally
yeah.
worked. Yes. And
Cool,
she
that's
couldn't
awesome.
And now the good news, Jenny, is that you never need to go back. Like, now
Yeah,
that you have that
yeah.
link, unless like your credit card gets expired or whatever, you never have to return to Patreon because there's never anything there that like you don't get just delivered to your phone. So congratulations.
Yeah, it's all set now. Awesome. Good news.
Very, very cool.
That fucking Varsity Blues sexy microphone episode still cracks me up every time I think about it. It was so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Our next email also from Jerry, once again, subject line NFL Draft.
Ooh, what's up, Jerry?
Hey guys, first things first, happy birthday to Samoan Thor, aka The Rock. I was watching a bunch of his old matches. Okay, and then change the subject. But yes, happy birthday once again to Mr. The Rock.
Happy birthday, Mr. The Rock.
Anyway, I was nervous as fuck because the NFL draft the 49ers in the third pick. Oh, right, he's a Niners fan too. Okay, so we got him, Wells, and Zach, right?
And I had Zach here, and we were just like, we were preparing Zach that they were going to take Mac Jones all day, and he's like, they can't do it. And I think that literally the 49ers fan base shamed the franchise into not taking Mac Jones. There's no way they traded all that draft capital to get Trey Lance.
I don't know anything about this stuff, so...
Okay.
I realized how out of the loop I was with the NFL when they're like, here's the NFL comp, and I'm like, I don't even know that guy. Like, not only do I not know the college guy because I don't watch college football, but
obviously.
It's like, oh, this guy's just like, the Raiders, like, Waller, like Darius, whatever his name is, Waller on the Raiders. I'm like, I don't really know
Waller.
him.
You watched Hard Knocks, though.
Yeah, but like, I don't think about them as NFL players. I just think about them as like reality star people.
Characters in a show. Oh, God.
It's like this year, I only watched the Vikings. Like, I didn't watch any other games, and so, I don't know. I hated the media saying we're going to pick Mac Jones since he would have been there at 12, but I love the situation of Trey Lance and overall the draft. One of my friends literally said if the Niners picked Mac, he would have jumped to the Raiders bandwagon.
Oh, man. Hey, those are fighting words no matter what your team is. We don't threaten to change teams no matter what dumb shit our team does.
Joe, too, I love Najee Harris. He's from the Bay Area and got to meet him once donating food to the same shelter. He's amazing and humble. I would get a Steelers hat and stitch his name on a number on there, so I'm asking what you think.
I am so excited about Najee. He is a wonderful, wonderful boy from all accounts that I've seen. He's already in Pittsburgh handing out food and like doing charity work. And considering we've had, people throwing furniture, children off a balcony on our team recently, I'm much happier having upstanding citizens. 2 thumbs up from me. And yeah, I think Snoop Dogg called him after the draft. So I assumed that he was from the Bay Area if Snoop had his phone number on speed dial.
I like how the Steelers, I know this is more like a widespread NFL problem. I like how the Steelers are so good at hiring coaches. They're like, we've had 6 coaches in the last 80 years or whatever, right?
And they re-up Tomlin. It's literally 3 and 60. Yeah.
And yet they can't get culture fits to save their goddamn life. Let's just let's just get ego, right? It's just we can do one thing better than literally any other team in the NFL, and the other one just hey, where are all the biggest assholes in the world playing? Probably the Steelers and sometimes the Bengals too, but now that Vontaze Burfict is gone, it's kind of just the Steelers.
Yeah, they definitely have diva problems. And ego problems, but lots of diva problems. Tomlin says it all the time. He's like, we'll tolerate you until we can replace you. They were, for a period, valuing talent over personality, and I think they're kind of culturally shifting.
Joey, going to you two with picking up a quarterback. I do like it since it kind of puts Kirk on notice, oh shit, I really need to ball out, not saying he wasn't. So what's your input as well? Okay, so I tweeted this. I never heard of this guy because I don't watch college football.
Yep.
Read a bunch of things and I watched a handful of videos, and it's this guy will be he has the talent to be the best quarterback in the NFL, or he should not even be on an NFL roster. So I don't know what to think.
I mean, that's every kid in the draft, right? Literally everyone in the draft is either he's going to be the greatest player alive, or he should have never been chosen.
Yeah, I don't know. They 3 quarterbacks went off the board in the span of 4 picks when they took their quarterback. And by that point, I wasn't watching the draft anymore. I watched the first round, which I didn't think I was going to watch the first round. Then I watched most of the second round. And I'm just I don't actually give a shit. I'm good. And I just followed along and just, on Vikings Twitter or whatever. But I was reading about, because they were comparing the 3 different quarterbacks. And apparently the guy that the Texans drafted, Mills, has the highest ceiling, but also the injury risks and whatever. So I don't know.
The Texans are fucked, dude. They need to be, I was saying they need to be relegated to the XFL because they're just a mess. Let them go clean their shit up in the minor leagues and come back, because they're just
the Calgary Stampeders, the CFL. We'll talk about that too.
Oh, yeah.
One more thing for both of you guys. Where do you think Aaron Rodgers and Watson go? Watson isn't playing this year. I'll call it. And as for Aaron, I'm not entirely sure. Looking forward for both inputs. Sorry, this was more NFL than Fast and Furious.
It's okay. I think Watson is going straight to jail. because there's been a lot
Right.
of allegations that came out against him. For anybody that doesn't know, Deshaun Watson likes massage parlors a lot. Well, not even massage parlors. He just likes harassing masseuses that he
Yeah, it's
finds
more
on
than that.
Instagram.
It's not the active going, it's his behavior once he's there.
Yes. And Aaron, I don't know about Aaron Rodgers, dude. I have no
Well,
idea.
on the night of the draft, they're like, it's a done deal. He's going to San Francisco. It's a done deal. He's going to Denver. It's just like, well, neither of those happened.
Well, because he doesn't have any weight in this. Like, he has to convince the team to trade him, right? He's still under contract. So he needs to, like, throw, like, a hissy fit, like AB or something to get thrown off the team. But they don't want to trade him. They're going to wind up firing their GM, is what I think it is. They're going to fire their GM to make him happy, and that's what's going to happen, and then he's going to stay in Green Bay. But I'm glad I'm not a Green Bay fan, because yeah.
I'm kind of loving it. It's just like, yeah.
Exactly. If this was happening to the Browns, I would definitely be laughing about it too. I get it. Yeah.
I hope he retires and just does Jeopardy.
He can't. AJ Hawk, that's always on Pat McAfee, that's like one of his like BFFs, was like, "There's no fucking way he's retiring." He just is like flexing on the Packers. So
Well, that's why he was saying like he's like, why I can do Jeopardy. It's like because I only have to work like 16 days a year or whatever for Jeopardy. Like it's
yeah,
like a non-commitment basically. So I mean, you have to be good. Like you have to have certain skills, but like the schedules match up. It's like you can easily do both. So
yeah.
So thank you, Jerry. Next email from Alex Ellenin. This has a picture component. I'm going to send this to you on Facebook.
Okay, let me see.
So I'm at Lowe's, and this catches my eye. Don't we know this guy? And there are gloves by the brand Wells Lamont, quality since 1907. I would love if Wells Lamont was not his actual name, that this is like a long con, that this is like some kind of like Andy Kaufman shit.
And he's just playing this glove manufacturer?
I don't know, man.
That's so weird. Wells, do you know that this exists? That you have your own brand of gloves? Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. It's crazy to see, though. Good pick up, Alex.
Yes. So shout out to Alex Wells. Please let us know if you know about that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And the last one is not an email. This is another YouTube comment, but a constructive YouTube comment. And Joe, this might blow your mind.
What?
So Gamer Sly Ratchet 1. So I'm guessing this is a PlayStation gamer.
Okay.
Commented on our Spy Racers Mexico episode and says, I remember hearing this show was getting 7 seasons total. It sounds wild, but considering how small the seasons are and how we're on a 4th already, it's honestly more realistic than expected. So I commented back. He has not responded yet, but I was just like, this is insane, but kind of makes sense. But let me know if you hear anything else. So
You know what? I think the fucking Netflix people are listening to us. And they just keep dropping little dimes here. We had a comment on the last one, asking us what we thought about Tony and Layla. We had a comment on this one, like, we heard they're getting 7 seasons. I think Kevo was onto it, and I think they fucking listened to the episodes. So if you're from Netflix and you listen to these episodes, write in, and we'll talk to you about it. Please.
yes, please. And well, if you're a Netflix
You could be
person, we'll have you on
anonymous.
the show. Just be on the show.
We could do a voice modulator. We can get you a sexy microphone filter.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, man.
That's all the email for today. Family@cageclub.me if you want to email in, if you want to be a anonymous source. We can hook that up. I'll figure it out. I'll download a
WikiLeaks?
plugin.
WikiLeaks, yeah.
It's Edward Snowden. Too fast, Edward Snowden. Joe, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious. There was a double dose of rock news that got renewed for season 2. That last night was the finale of season 1.
Yep.
There's a season 2 coming.
Yep.
We also have college age Dewey in Black Adam along with The Rock, which I called. I was just like,
You totally
these dudes are
called
going to
it,
be everywhere. And so he's a jacked dude of like adult size, right? So like
He's
he'll be in
monstrous.
a superhero movie.
Yeah.
But anything else that you have seen in the world of Fast and Furious?
Nothing besides those. The rock news was the big ones to me, so.
So there are 2 other things that I've seen. So I think because we're like, we're within a couple months of F9 coming out, and they're all on the press tour, sort of, kind of, slowly. Vin Diesel went on Entertainment Weekly's binge podcast.
Okay.
And talked about how he wanted to do the Fast and Furious and then why he almost didn't.
Why he wanted to do Too Fast, Too Forever?
No, he wanted to do the
and he
first one.
didn't?
The first one.
Oh, I thought he was telling them why he was going to do our podcast, but then didn't, and then went
No,
to
that would be a
Entertainment
weird thing to
Binge.
read on Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah.
So he says that when they came to him for the first movie, they sold him on the idea, like, we're going to be in the car with you, and we're going to follow it from your eye down your arm and into the engine. He's like, that sounds awesome. I'm in.
Yeah.
And then he read the script, and it's just like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And apparently, like, in the first draft of the script, like, there's a lot of things that, like, I'm sort of skimming but not reading because I don't want to absorb spoilers. But it's
Okay.
like Letty was originally, as we've talked about, as we've heard before, Letty originally written as like a trophy girlfriend, and I think there was just a lot of stuff in here that it was not an ideal script, and so they had on file or on retainer or whatever David Ayer, who wrote Training Day, but has since gone on to like write and make End of Watch, and he's done a bunch of great movies and some not so great movies. But he rewrote the first movie and like made it much more of what like Vin wanted, what was like a better thing overall. But we almost didn't have our Dominic Toretto in these movies.
That would be wild. I don't think that there'd be 10 of them without Vin Diesel, right?
There might not even be a second one. I don't know. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
I don't know either. But I'm glad that the world played out as it did because I really enjoy these. I just can't imagine anybody else being Dom at this point. Now that we're jaded with him
Right.
being in them, but at the same time, I'm like anybody from around that time that I want to replace him with, like it just doesn't work right.
The other thing that I did not read yet is that they did, Entertainment Weekly also did an oral history of the first movie, which I think is pretty cool, which I love these. This is pretty lengthy, which is good. Let's see who's in this one. The guy who wrote the article Eraser X. We got Neil Moritz, the producer. We got Paul Walker. I don't know when. How? What? When is this from?
Probably like one of these like blooper things.
The writer spoke to Paul Walker in 2013, months before his death. So, okay.
Interesting.
But they got Paul Walker, they got Vin Diesel, they got Jordan Brewster, they got Michelle Rodriguez, they got David Ayer, who I just mentioned as the co-writer. They got Chad Lindbergh, they got Hector, Noel Guglielmi, they got the guy who is the picture car coordinator, they got Johnny Strong, who plays Leon. They got a bunch of different people in here in the oral history. So check out Entertainment Weekly. Fuck, let's go do it. An oral history of the Fast and the Furious.
That's a really good title because I'm sure that that's pretty much how that went down, right?
So yeah.
Fuck, let's go do it.
So that's all the news that I've seen, I think, on the streets. If you've seen Fast and Furious news, email in family@cageflood.me. Let us know for the next episode.
Yep.
We're going to be getting stuff more soon, I think.
Yeah,
right?
it's gonna be a ton of spoilers, I think.
It's going to be coming Fast and Furious.
Yes.
Joe Young Rock, 2 episodes. So last week, Good versus Great.
Yes.
This is a College Dewey one. This is him trying to basically make a career out of football, and it's not exactly going so well.
Yeah, I really like this one. I think that as it grows, I really like the University of Miami ones just because it's interesting from a sports perspective too.
Right.
Because he was on a team with Warren Sapp and Ray Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
That locker room had to be fucking wild, right? Like that, just insanity. Like it's not even like it's like the linebackers room, right? Or like the defensive locker room. I really like that one, and you're right. I'm really getting hype on College Rock being in other things because I'm like he's awesome. I think he's a good actor and he's fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more of him. There was something. My fucking worlds collided in this episode. And I do not think you will know this bit of trivia. So we're watching this episode, and as I mentioned, they have Warren Sapp in it, and then like he's like, okay, like the next year was gonna be my year, and he meets this freshman in the gym, and it's Ray Lewis, and it's like, oh man, like they're like, oh, it's Ray Lewis, and you're like, oh, crazy, like everybody knows who Ray Lewis is if you know football, so you're like, oh, well, Ray Lewis
Or if you know murder.
or if you know stabbings, then you know who Ray Lewis is. The guy who played Ray Lewis in this episode, do you know who he is?
No, I didn't look it up.
You didn't need to. He is a person that was on season 2 of Temptation Island.
Really? Wow.
I
Okay.
swear to God, yes. He's one of the cast members of Temptation Island season 2. And Rachel was like, I kept looking at him like she found it. And she's like, I kept looking at him like, I recognize this guy. I was like, yeah, me too. Like, he looked very familiar, but we watched so much shitty TV, SVU and stuff that I thought maybe it was like somebody like that.
Right.
But no, it was a guy from Temptation Island. That's who it was.
I mean, it's funny because like you just need like a jacked dude, right, who can like deliver a couple lines. So
yeah,
he's in one scene, right? Like he's in the locker room before Dewey gets there. So
I was like, this is mind blown. This is really crazy. That was my big takeaway from that episode. I like the little jokes that they put in at the beginning as much as we were like, do they use this thing all the time? But like the future things, like he didn't get picked for the role of whatever in Lin-Manuel Miranda's.
Lin-Manuel Miranda remade Major League as a musical.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Okay.
And like that idea is like just beautiful to me. Like sometimes those little jokes are really, really good. So
So this was one where, like, so I watched this when I was supposed to,
I know,
before
I
they
know.
renewed it for season 2, and I was like, this might be the end of the show, because like they rushed through to the end of his college career. Like I thought, like we could add a lot more stories. I mean, I know that he wasn't like really a college athlete, but like he could, like he was. Like I'm not saying he wasn't an athlete, but like he didn't have a lot of playing time. That's kind of the point of these stories, right? Like it's just like he wanted to play, coach didn't want to play, whatever. And I'm like, I wonder if this is like the end of the show, because like they kind of wrap this story up. But I'm guessing that they could also continue on and like have him getting into acting or whatever, right? Like and just keep going.
There's no reason that he can't go back and be like, and then this is a story from when I was a sophomore.
I feel like what they're, and maybe they're not, but I feel like there is a forward momentum to all 3 ages.
I agree, but I'm saying they don't need to do that.
True, yeah. But also, like, let's jump to the finale of Election Day. Like, at the end here, they have the NFL draft. Like, this is the first episode, I think, unless maybe there was one really early on, but I don't remember it. But, like, all 3 ages were in this one, and they all kind of get, like, a resolution.
I think the first one was, like, all 3 ages.
Which would make sense, yeah. So in the young one, he learns the importance of real talk with his mom, just, like, loving her. And then in high school, he works with the courage to like ask Karen out and whatever. In college age, he gets to the NFL draft. High school, he also convinces the University of Miami to recruit him.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about it, like all these other colleges wanted him and probably had less demanding rotations. Like he probably could have been like a 4-year starter at another school that wanted him, right? So like, but the whole episode was about how like he wanted to go to the University of Miami and convince them to recruit him, and then didn't get to play, whatever. And then in college, we see the NFL draft, he goes undrafted, and then he winds up in the CFL as a member of the Calgary Stampeders. And so like we're moving forward on all these stories. So here's the thing. If they want to do like a story from his like sophomore year of college, they could just have like high school Dewey now be college Dewey.
No, why would they need to do that?
If you're moving forward, because the high school story is over, essentially. It could be. Like he got recruited, he's in the University of Miami, he did prom.
Oh, you're right, we could just shift everybody up one?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even think about that. That makes perfect sense to me too. And they just like let high school Dewey become college Dewey as he gets older, and it just tracks, right?
Yeah, and like middle school Dewey is like, he's definitely that kid's gonna hit puberty like between season 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna look like that. So he could have growing pains getting into young high school. You know what I mean? So
that's true. And big Dewey, the college Dewey now is just going to be the wrestler, right? He's just going to become The Rock.
Yes, I imagine so. Like acting and wrestling and all that stuff, right? Yeah,
that's what I think.
I also think it's very funny that like I've been doing it and you're doing it now too. Like just calling him Dewey, not The Rock, not Dwayne, just Dewey. It's just he's Dewey. Like the show has made him Dewey.
It has. I mean, that's what they call him. So yes, I agree. Once you hear Dewey, you can't undo it. One of the coolest things from this finale episode last night, when he's watching the draft, they're playing Cream. Obviously Cream and Wu-Tang are like, everywhere, but like we're watching this before we watch Kill Bill.
Yeah.
And we just watched Shogun Assassin and all the Lone Wolf and Cub movies. Just like, all the connections. I was just like, oh, yep, everything is one big circle. So
yep. My favorite moment in this episode is when high school Dewey shouts out Paulie's robot from Rocky 4, because Rocky 4 is my favorite Rocky.
Yes.
And he's just like, oh, he's got to, and like it's just funny because it's dumb, but I was just like, hell yeah, reference Rocky 4. We do not know if he wins the presidency or not, which I think is probably the right call to make.
The right call.
It's not like, hey, yeah, future president of The Rock, like, it was as foretold on Young Rock, but he does have a lead.
Dude.
We get his campaign slogan, no muss, no fuss, but like, it seems like he's going to win, but also he might not. I
am so terrified if he does become president that this will be like now history.
Hey man, this podcast is history.
Yeah, it is. I'm just saying, but like, imagine being like, yes, like kids are digitally watching holograms of their history lesson.
Well, I mean, you're like, I'd rather have them watch this than like episodes of The Apprentice.
I 100% agree.
Or Home Alone 2.
I 100% agree, but they'll be like, yes, and then like as part of a new bold campaign strategy, President Dwayne Johnson rolled out a sitcom about his life to prepare the public for his announcement. And you're just
what I thought you were going to say was that you see this as a way, like if he becomes president, that other people can be like, oh, I can just write a show where I become president, and then like it works. So
no, also terrifying, but close, yeah.
But also like you can't just not everybody can have a TV show, and like you need to be charming and charismatic and like have the ambition and the drive and the success or whatever. So like there will be a precedent, the Dewey precedent.
Yeah, there will be.
I also really liked at the end of this, so like spoilers, the final shot of this, but like they get on the elevator because his real mom shows up and they're talking about things, and they get on the elevator, and then as they're about to get off, they see in the reflection, his mom and young Dewey from like the youngest.
That was the
I was just like, that's
cutest thing.
very cute and very sweet, and just like,
Yep.
they're still inside them all along, which I really liked.
I really like that too. And when we finished this, I looked at Rachel and I was like, this is so wholesome. I could definitely watch another season of this. There's like nothing bad in this show. So
It'll be back. I don't know
It'll be
when.
back.
I don't know if it's going to be like late this fall or next year or what it's going to be, but season 2 has been confirmed, as we talked about. So more Young Rock to come.
Yeah,
Any other
I'm
thoughts
excited.
about Election Day or Good vs. Great?
No, I thought it was good. You should watch
Cool.
the show if you haven't. Go binge it. It's really easy watching, as we've said the whole time. And if you like The Rock at all, it's just fun.
The final thing to do before we take a break is to talk about the Fast and Furious Minute. Too Fast, Too Furious, Minute 9, a minute I called You Ain't Passing Me, Dog.
You ain't passing me, dog. You ain't passing me. Come on. What you got, man?
So in this minute, the race continues. Racers shift gears and vie for the lead. Brian tries to overtake Slapjack for the lead, but Slapjack keeps in front of him. And that's all that happens.
That's all that happens. So I was hoping personally for me, like I said last episode, that you get more like inside shots
Nope.
of the cars. You get very quick, very blurry ones. I noticed some cool things. Orange Julius has neon lights inside his car next to his
Okay.
emergency brake too. I noticed that Brian has 3 screens in his car at the same time, and 2 of them are showing the same thing. I couldn't really get a good look at Suki's. I really, really remember a shot of her looking at like some kind of cartoon on her screen, and we haven't gotten there yet. And I don't
Nope.
know if I'm just hallucinating that or not.
Well, we have several more. I'm guessing we have 3 or 4 or 5 more minutes of this race. Like this is like the first. Like this is an entire minute of a race, but like there's a lot more to come.
I think so too.
Also, you noted that Brian's odometer has not changed since last minute. It's still 41,045, so he's not driven a mile yet, apparently.
No, I haven't. I mean, I just copy and paste that from the previous one because I was adding stuff to it. I just kind of add
gotcha.
on to it.
Okay.
Yes. I noticed 2 cool things in this. One is those trucks that he almost drives into are called Hinos. They're 1995 Hino FEs. I don't know what the fuck that is, but it was very interesting to see. I was like, I wonder if like Car Movie Database has like what these trucks are. Yep, somebody knew exactly what they are.
Oh, they're Miami Herald. They're just newspaper delivery trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like somebody knew what model they were, so I was like, that's cool. The cooler thing is that they're parked right there because that's actually like a throughway for this hotel. I found the hotel because I swear I feel like I've driven past it before when when I'm in Miami. It just feels like very, very familiar to me. And I don't know if we played a lot of Vice City and it's that, or if we've actually driven by it in Miami. It has changed hands. It is no longer the Clarion Hotel and Suites Miami. It is now...
It's just Choice Hotels.
No, it's River Park Hotel and Suites.
Oh.
But I put the Google Maps image. Did you click the Google Maps thing?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, so that's exactly where they are. They changed the awnings. They're no longer red. They're green now. But that's exactly where they go through. And you can kind of walk down the street and see where they like go, oh shit, and turn by the vans, newspaper trucks. And you can see where they go underneath. So we kind of have like a path of where they're going now. We had the starting line. We have this. We're kind of like tracking where the route is of this race.
Cool.
I thought
Very,
that was
very
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Anything else you picked up in this minute?
The neon lighting and the blurriness is really making this hard. Cuts are quick too, but I was expecting to see more inside the car. So I'm hoping we get like at least one long shot where like I can't read.
Oh, you're saying because it's so bright outside, it's hard to see inside.
No. They have neon lighting in the car.
Oh,
so like,
gotcha. Okay.
Yes, like all of their cars, like Brian has like a blue one, Orange Julius has orange, Suki has pink, and they're mainly showing you the gear shifter and the pedals. We don't have that like Danger to Manifold where you were like looking kind of at the dash. It's just different. It's definitely a different, director.
So my question for this, also we have music that starts Tej's Race of 4 by David Arnold from the score, begins in this minute, which we had no music last minute, and this music kicks in like 40 seconds in here. So the only question I could think of, unless we want to do something with the hotel or the newspaper delivery trucks, which I think that's
kind of
too obscure and too outside the box for people just watching the movie, but maybe not. But my question I came up with was who holds the lead for much of the beginning of the first race? Brian, Orange Julius, Slapjack, or Suki? And the answer here is Slapjack. Do you like that question or do you not like that question?
I really like that question. I think it's fair. He also says, "You're not passing me, dog," to like cue it up with the dialogue. I think that's a good question.
Cool. So minute 9, you ain't passing me, dog. We have 9 minutes, 9 questions on the quiz. Getting close. We're only 41 weeks away from Joe thinking you can take the quiz. So just wait till question 50 and then we can do it. But you can take it any time, but it's easy.
Yeah.
I do wonder. Actually, Joe, I'm going to ask you a question without scrolling up. What was one that you thought? Hold on. Actually, I'm going to ask you 2 questions.
Go ahead.
Who calls Tej in the opening scene of Too Fast, Too Furious? Brian, Jimmy, Suki, or we don't know?
Who calls Tej? Mm-hmm. Or not, who does Tej call?
Now, who calls Tej?
It's Jimmy.
Yep. In the film's opening race, what color is the painted starting line? Green, red, white, or yellow?
Red?
Yep.
Okay.
Difficult. And we just did these a couple weeks ago, so.
Yeah, I got them both right, though, so that's good.
You did. All right, let's take a break and let us come back and talk about Kill Bill Volume 1.
This is episode number 179, Kill Bill, Volume 1. This episode is brought to you by Gold Bond Foot Powder. The trusted formula is for if your feet are dry, rough, stinky, or in pain. Trust the brand that's been providing genuine medicated relief since 1908. Shout out to Gold Bond Maximum Strength Foot Powder.
Well, shout out to Gold Bond and welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. We were talking about Kill Bill Volume 1, like we said on Friday. Kill Bill Volume 2 coming at you. Joe, do you have a preference between 1 and 2? Without going into too much detail on this movie or that movie, do you have one that you like more than the other one?
Oh.
It's okay if not.
No, I think I like 1 better, and that's like the perfect place to start, and that's because I think Sonny Chiba is the best part of this first movie.
Yeah, no, my big takeaway from this movie is that I was like, I kind of don't love the first, 45 minutes of this movie. Until it gets to Japan, I'm just like, that's okay. And then once I get to Japan, like the Hattori Hanzo stuff, the Sonny Chiba stuff, the Crazy 88 stuff, and the O-Ren Ishii stuff, I'm like, this is all amazing. But I forgot there's such a clear delineation in my mind between good and bad, or not good and bad, but good and great. Because for a long time, I would be like, yeah, Kill Bill is my favorite Tarantino thing. And I like 2 better than 1. So we'll talk about that on Friday.
Okay.
I was kind of underwhelmed by much of the first half of this, and then as soon as from the Hattori Hanzo scene on, from the sushi restaurant on, I'm like, this is great, this is amazing, right? So
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's weird, and this was part of the message that we were talking about earlier when I told you I was watching Pulp Fiction. I haven't seen this movie in forever, and I feel like it's such a different watch this time because we watched everything leading up to this movie in this lap. We were just
intentionally so, yes.
Intentionally so. We were working our way here, and to see all the bits and pieces along the way culminate to this made it a very interesting, different watch to me. I don't mind the beginning stuff, but I think it definitely hits its stride when you hit Japan and Sonny Chiba.
There's a bunch of trivia on IMDb. I got rid of most of it, but I'm going to do some stuff and we can talk about the movie. So some crossover stuff to what we've talked about before. First off, 2 laps ago, classic car map. did Death Proof. And star of that, or one of the stars about Zoe Bell, who is Uma's stunt double in this movie.
Yeah.
She actually split the baseball with the samurai sword on set, which is just amazing. She's
Wow.
Everything I hear about Zoe Bell, like her doing her own stunts in Death Proof, her doing all of Uma's stunts here, like, or most of Uma's stunts here, right? Like, she's amazing. And for her to actually have the control with the sword to slice a baseball in half in midair
is insane.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's terrifying in a great way.
Shout out to Lone Wolf. Actually, another Death Proof crossover. Quentin Tarantino said that Grindhouse films were a big influence on these movies, on Kill Bill 1 and 2. Like, even to the point where, like, in the beginning, they have the art feature presentation and, like, just kind of the pulpy nature of it all.
They start with the Shaw Brothers thing on the HBO one, too.
Yes. These are both on HBO Max.
Yeah.
I watched on the Blu-ray. It's on the Blu-ray, too. Yeah, like, that's just part of the movie, right? Lone Wolf and Cub reference, we were talking about in those episodes with Mike, that like how much blood there is. More than 450 gallons of fake blood were used in these two movies, which is just, it's an insane number. That's a lot of blood.
That's a ton. I was loving this, and whenever I'd see the blood spray, I would giggle and like look at Rachel. It feels so much like Tarantino obviously watched Shogun Assassin and like all the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, and he was like, look, I love the blood spray, but the only way we could make this cooler is if we, like, mist it more. Like, he has, like, a way more, like, misty effect.
So I have trivia about that, not the misting, but he wanted to achieve the specific look of the Chinese wuxia films, so like the martial arts films of the 70s. He gave his director of photography, Robert Richardson, a list of genre films as a crash course, including ones by genre pioneers Che Chang and the Shaw Brothers. Quentin Tarantino forbade the use of digital effects and quote-unquote professional gags and squibs. Instead, the blood on this movie, or these movies, I guess both of them, were done how Chang Che did them. Chinese condoms full of fake blood that would splatter on impact. So it looks different because he wanted it to look different and wanted it to look like it did in the 70s, which is just a cool little detail. You know, he's a film nerd. We talked about that a lot, right? He just, it's something that he's like, I love the way that looks. Let's make it look like that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Tokyo Drift, sort of crossover. So during the anime sequence with Oren Ishii's origins, which I was also thinking like Spy Racers, like that's animated with a different kind of animation style we would talk about with Nico and Kevo. This is just anime in the middle of a live action movie.
And very Akira that we watched this lab too, right?
Yes. In this anime sequence, you briefly see that her father held the rank of Sergeant Major in the U.S. Army. So I'm just thinking of Sean's father being a military man. Not growing up on a military base, but like, you know, military. Yeah. Also, according to David Carradine, the man in the flashback who kills Oren's father is a younger Bill, so...
It looks like Bill, and I got that vibe. I don't know if I knew that fact in the back of my head or not. When I saw him, like, shoot the bottle and kick the cigarette to light it, it just, like, it felt very much like a young Bill. It did, really did.
There were a couple different, like, fan theory. I guess that's, like, a Carradine theory or whatever. He passed away, but... It was a theory of his, I guess. There's other fan theories. The one that I kept in here was that people think that these movies, or this movie in particular, or like the whole story or whatever, is actually like the failed pilot for Fox Force 5, which is, if you have seen Pulp Fiction, like as you watch Pulp Fiction today, as you know, when Mia and Vincent go out to dinner and she tells him that she's an actress and she had this failed pilot, and she explains what a pilot is, and there's, 5 foxy ladies, whatever.
Yes.
She's describing essentially this, so people think that like this is what that would have been to some extent, right? Because Tarantino's like, hey, I'm going to reference myself or whatever, like talking about remixing and
always, yeah.
Freddie Snell's putting himself in the thing, right? But yeah, same thing.
Plus, I can definitely see him making Pulp Fiction, watching it at some point and going like, why don't I make that movie? That's a really great line. Like that would actually be a lot of fun. And then like as he like gets more like money and stuff, him being like, yeah, I'm just going to make that. He obviously had this idea if it's in the dialogue, right? Like at some point, whether it was just like a weird dream idea or something, but it floated through his mind at one point. So then he was like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
I mean, it also fits with the whole, like, what he want, like, just, strong and like kick-ass women and like martial arts stuff and whatever, right? Like, the story goes that he wanted to make... I think he wanted to make Pulp Fiction, but he knew he needed to make another, like a smaller movie first. He wanted to make Reservoir Dogs. But like to make Reservoir Dogs, he had to like raise money. So he wrote True Romance and sold that script and used that money to make Reservoir Dogs. And then based on the success of Reservoir Dogs, was able to make Pulp Fiction. So it's like the movie you want to make first is not always the movie you're allowed to make first. Because you can't just be like, hey, I got this great idea. Like, cool, kid. Like, what have you done? It's like, well, I've done nothing. But like, give me like millions of dollars.
Give me John Travolta and millions of dollars. And Samuel L. Jackson,
Right. maybe it's the same thing. Like maybe he wanted to make like Fox Force 5 in the 90s, and they're like, well, maybe one day, kid. Like, you had one good movie. Like, let's get a couple more under your belt or whatever, right? And then
I 100% think that's what it was. Yep.
So this is another thing that Tarantino has lifted, because we talked about in the Death Proof episode 2 laps ago, where he's like, this is from Crazy Larry or Crazy Mary Dirty Larry. This is from this is from that. This is whatever, right? Like, the line, "My name's Buck and I'm here to fuck," is apparently the opening line in Tobe Hooper's Eaten Alive, where Robert Englund, who's the guy who plays, I want to say Freddy Krueger. Let's see here. Am I right or am I wrong? Yes, he plays Freddy Krueger. Whew, I'm not an idiot. He says, like, the first line of that movie is, "The name's Buck and I'm raring to fuck." So, like, not a movie we've covered, but just, I never thought that was a line that he stole, but even that, just like, okay, cool. Thanks, guy.
Yeah.
And the other crossover connection you sort of mentioned in the Young Rock thing, Wu-Tang-esque, Odd Future has a song, or I think it's Haji Beats, has a song, "All Right," from 2010, that starts with O-Ren Ishii's, "Now, if any of you sons of bitches got anything else to say, now's the fucking time." Like, that song starts with that sample, so pretty cool. Just like how the Jizza used all of Shogun Assassin throughout Liquid Swords. I mean, it's not like throughout this album, it's just the one thing, but still
that's
kind of
cool.
cool.
I feel like these have bled over into, like, everything after it, right? Like...
Oh, yeah. Tarantino wanted to cast a Japanese actress to play O-Ren Ishii, but then he saw Lucy Liu in Shanghai Noon, so he changed O-Ren to a Chinese-Japanese-American so Liu could play the part. So it's kind of cool. Like, there's been a lot of people who have gotten in trouble, let's say, for acting in parts that should have gone to another actress. Like Emma Stone playing a Hawaiian, for instance, or whatever, right?
Yes.
Or Scarlett Johansson playing everyone but a white woman, right? So we've talked about that before.
Always. Yeah.
And so, like, this is not necessarily better, because, like, you're like, oh, it should have just been, like, a Japanese actress instead of, like, whatever. But it's cool that, like, he changed the script to fit the actress's heritage and history and, like, life and career, right? Like, I'm going to make her, for lack of a better word, because, like, that's how she's treated in this movie, like, make her mixed blood, like, be a plot point in this. So I think it's kind of a cool shift.
Yes, because he had to have then adjusted the story to match it, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because, like, that's not like, oh, it's just like, now she's just like a different kind of person. It's like, no, like, this is now a driving force in the story, and to integrate it like that is really cool.
Yeah, like, this is her entire, like, why she is essentially so angry the entire time is because everybody looks down on her, because, like, Japanese people don't see her as Japanese, and Chinese people don't see her as Chinese, and, like, Americans don't see her as American, and, like, she has to constantly prove herself, and so the price you pay for bringing up either of those things as negatives, like, collect your fucking head, right? Like, it's just like, I will murder you, literally murder you, if you don't give me the respect I deserve.
She's a good character in this movie. I really like Lucy Liu in this movie.
I think she's the best part of this movie. I like Sonny Chiba, but like, it's like Lucy Liu is it's crazy.
I personally just love Sonny Chiba in it, but yes, I can see it going either way.
And I mean, that's not to take away from Uma Thurman, who, like, this movie wouldn't work without, like, but just like God damn it. Quentin and Uma talked about making this movie while making Pulp Fiction, that Quentin wanted to do a 70s style kung fu flick, and then Uma had this idea for, like, a woman beaten up wearing a wedding dress as, like, an opening to a movie, and they kind of merged them together. So, like, 10 years earlier or whatever, they were already kind of dreaming this movie up. So
yeah, that's the Q and U. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Obviously, of course, the tracksuit she wears in this is inspired by a movie that we covered, Game of Death, the Bruce Lee movie, Game of Death.
Yeah.
This is interesting. So in the Crazy 88 fight scene, I think not House of Leaves, but it's the House of whatever. Showdown at the House of Blue Leaves. Like, that's what that sequence is called.
Yes.
The movie goes from color to black and white and then back to color, because apparently the MPAA, in their infinite wisdom, was like, this is too bloody. You can't show all this blood. So he's like, cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pay homage to 70s and 80s US TV airings of Kung Fu movies, because in those, back when it was, like, stricter to get stuff on TV, they just made it black and white, so, like, it wasn't, like, red blood everywhere. And so they did it to protect viewers, ostensibly, from, like, these, people are like, you shouldn't be watching this. And so Tarantino, like, listened to the MPAA, I guess, begrudgingly, but also was able to, like, reference a cool thing that he grew up with. So I think it's kind of a cool workaround, sort of.
That's a really cool fact. I didn't know this. It makes sense, but I didn't know this, and I really, really like that.
And, like, in the Japanese version, it never goes to black and white.
Ah, because they didn't care. Or it was, like, rated something higher.
No, because, like, I mean, I just don't think they ever give a shit about blood. Like, all their movies are so bloody over there.
Yeah, that's true.
In the UK, like, nudity, nobody gives a shit about. But, like, if you show a gun, it's like, nobody can watch this, right? And then here, it's just like, oh my God, you might see a hint of a nipple. Like, we need to rate this like R, you know what I mean? But like, you can just have like in a PG thing, like people shooting other people. Like, as long as you don't see, it's just like, what are we prioritizing in this country?
I don't know. I don't know. I struggle with this a lot.
So for the role of Bill, who was ultimately played by David Carradine, Jack Nicholson, your boy Jack Nicholson, our boy Kurt Russell, Mickey Rourke, Kevin Costner, and Burt Reynolds all passed on the role. Warren Beatty was offered the role of Bill, and I guess he had not been cast, but was like close, seemed closer than the rest of them. Eventually said that like he didn't want to do it because he didn't think that Bill should show up till the end of the second movie. And so he's not really in this movie, but he's kind of in this movie from here, and like little points here, little points there, or whatever. Yeah. But after like they not like have had it falling out or whatever, but like the difference of opinion, he's like, you should cast David Carradine, which worked out, I guess. And Quentin Tarantino said that if Warren Beatty was cast, he'd have been more of a suave James Bond type of character, which is cool, but I kind of like when we get to Bill, it's just kind of like this, like he's essentially playing Uncle Kamada, sort of, from Tokyo Drift, like just a guy who's like seen some shit and like is kind of laid back because like he's done the thing already.
Yeah, he has like a smooth cowboy kind of vibe to him, and also like a kung fu kind of vibe to him, like the character kung fu, not like the movie genre kung fu, but both. Just because I haven't seen it, I wouldn't have enjoyed the character being more James Bond. I like him being more like cowboy, kind of.
And I think that's also, you know, what we were saying earlier about like being, you know, having Vin Diesel as Dom Toretto. It's like, this is the Bill that we know. Like if the Bill we knew was always a James Bond guy, I'd be like, yeah, of course. Like we can't have like a cowboy. Like that makes no sense.
Exactly. I agree. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm like just blinded like by this, but that's what it feels like to me.
Well, speaking of cowboys, Quentin had Uma watch 3 movies to prepare for this role. John Woo's The Killer, Coffee, starring Jackie Brown's star Pam Grier, and Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars. So a little bit of blaxploitation, a little bit of spaghetti western, and a little bit of, I guess, Asian, whatever, however you describe The Killer, which I've not seen. But, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that.
I was actually, when we went through like a big blaxploitation kick at the beginning, I did, at the beginning of pandemic, and I was watching Coffee and like all of these Pam Grier movies, and yeah, it was fun.
So Hattori Hanzo, the name, was apparently born by 4 ninjas in feudal Japan. The most famous was in the mid-16th century, a strategist, master of the spear, and a man instrumental in ushering in the Tokugawa period of Japanese history, which lasted from 1603 to 1868. So I guess, I don't know if it meant something back then, but it seems like 4 different people used that name, and one of which was relatively important, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a cool pseudonym that they all kind of shared. Yeah,
I guess. And Sonny Chiba played a character named Hattori Hanzo in a hit Japanese TV show Shadow Warriors, which is about ninjas of feudal Japan. So he already played Hattori Hanzo, and I guess they brought him back. So
we know that Tarantino loves doing shit like that too, right?
Yeah,
like just recycling like names of characters and other things. So yeah.
Speaking of Sonny Chiba, Quentin wanted 3 actors of different nationalities to represent their respective countries. Chia Hui Liu represents China, Shinichi Sonny Chiba represents Japan, and David Carradine represents the U.S. Tarantino had said that if Bruce Lee had been alive, he'd have been asked to have been in Kill Bill as well, which would have been cool. But you know,
obviously,
he died 30 years earlier or whatever, right? So
yeah, but I'm saying also, like, does this not feel like a movie that Bruce Lee, like as an old man, would have been like some random guy in this movie? Of course.
They add a scene where like Uma goes to buy her tracksuit and just, you know, or her motorcycle or something, and it's a Bruce Lee guy just like, oh, I know who that is, right? So yeah,
it would be like, hey, I heard you need a tracksuit to groove in.
So Pai Mei, who is more in the second one, I think they might have mentioned him here, but he's first referenced in Shaolin martial arts. He appears in several other Shaolin-related Gordon Liu films, directed by his adopted brother, who was a director of many of his early films, and other acclaimed martial arts films, and numerous martial arts techniques in this film were used in those. So once again, just kind of taking like stuff that was done well before and implementing it in current day, right? So
we talked about this before because we had watched like one of the Pai Mei movies, like the movies that he's in, and I was like, oh man, this reminds me so much of the guy from Kill Bill, and you were like,
oh yeah, and like it's him.
It's literally like, that guy. Yeah,
because like in Kill Bill 2, which we'll talk about, like he's made up, like he's not that old, but like, he's made up like all this like wispy white hair, and like he looks like he's an 80-year-old dude, and like we see a movie from 30 years earlier where he's like actually like a 20-year-old dude, and just like that, I guess it's the same person, but like who knows, you know what I mean? So I don't know. And the last fact that I have is that O-Ren, at the end, spoilers. Also, by the way, I'm so glad that I don't have to tiptoe around spoilers for Kill Bill anymore, even though I never actually had to. I was just doing it as a joke. But
Yeah.
spoilers for the end of this conversation. O-Ren was supposed to get decapitated at the end of the movie, but they realized that if she had been decapitated, she wouldn't be able to say, oh, that was actually a Hattori Hanzo sword. So, like, they just had her get scalped and die.
So she could deliver the line.
Exactly.
In my head, I imagined it as she got decapitated. Like, I haven't seen this movie in a long time, and I remember the line, and I remember, like, her dying, obviously. I didn't remember it wasn't a decapitation until I just watched it this time. Like, when it happened, I was like, oh, yeah, she just scalped her. Like, I saw, like, the scalp fall off, and I was like, I thought it was her head, but that makes a lot of sense.
That's all the trivia. That's all the good trivia, at least. We'll have more,
There's
I'm
a
sure,
lot
for
of
Kill
good
Bill 2
trivia.
on Friday. But stuff that was related to us and just stuff that I thought was pretty cool. But Kill Bill 1, here we go. Joe, do you have a pick for a cool moment? I guess it's Hattori Hanzo, probably, right?
Yeah, there's so many cool moments in this. I like when she's like, I'll collect your heads. That's a very, very cool moment.
O-Ren, yeah.
On the Oren on the table. One of the coolest fucking moments for me that I never like paid attention to in this movie until this watch. What is Oren's like lawyer's name?
Sophie.
Sophie is driving, and she's driving a 300ZX that like I was all like talking about in the previous lap that like I was all bonered for. Like I just got this like weird inkling about them not too long ago, and I was like, oh man, like I would fucking love one of these. And there's just like one of these in the movie, and I was like, this is like the coolest thing ever. And just
That's
like her driving like a car that I think is very cool and is not
Yeah.
like is not like Ferrari or whatever, you know. It's
Right.
just like it was like a really cool thing to me, so I was like, that's a really cool part of the movie. Did you have
Cool.
like another cool part of the movie?
So I have two things by the bride. I have number one, like in the Hattori Hanzo scene,
Yes.
where she just starts speaking Japanese. Like,
Yes.
I need to speak to Hattori Hanzo. And he just like his entire, because he's joking around. You know, he's got his like, swords apprentice, right? Because he is retired. Like he doesn't want to make instruments of death anymore. So he's trying to like
Yes.
live an honest life and just run a sushi shop and whatever. He's got just like this bad worker employee, like his only employee, it seems, is a guy who just wants to watch his Japanese soaps and like gives Uma lip for like ordering sake in the middle of the day, whatever.
Yeah.
Cursing at this dude in Japanese and like making fun of him in English to Uma, and like just, it's a really funny scene. And she's like, I'm here to see a guy. He's like, oh, you came all the way here to see a guy, like what's his name, or what do you want to, she's like Hattori Hanzo. And then just like, oh, like that's the moment where she's like, oh god, like the whole scene is great, but it's just like, oh no, like this. And then he just, what do you want with Hattori Hanzo? He's just speaking to her in Japanese, and it's the coolest. Like shit's about to get real here in a hurry. Like we gotta,
Yep.
I'm here for you, let's talk.
I fucking love the whole thing of that. Like the tone, the mood, everything just changes. And there's like some comedy at the beginning of that part of it, which I really, really like. It's very light, but then it like flips the switch to serious very fast. And I like that they use the language change to do that.
Yep.
I think that was cool. I like everything about it.
And like him like throwing knives around, like getting it like magnetically stuck to the wall, and then like the guy like running at like him
Yes.
throwing like a knife or a plate or something at him, and just like, like, what are you gonna do? But just like, he like he's a master swordsman. This guy is like, I don't want to say like a ninja, what I mean? Like he's not gonna get killed, but like just throwing knives at dudes just because like he's just being a dick. Like it's just funny how over the top it is.
When he has the magnetic bar and he like just like throws the knife to the magnetic bar behind him is like one of the singly most cool moves in this movie for me.
Hattori Hanzo says something like, do you understand? The guy's like, in Japanese to Uma, he's like, I'm not bald, I shave my head. Then he says in English, do you understand? It's like, no, she's ostensibly just like this white woman, right? Like it's so funny. It's just so good.
Yeah, they play really well together.
So I love that. And then at the end in the O-Ren fight, I think my other cool moment would be when they're fighting. Uma slices the sword sheath, and like then the first real blow comes when O-Ren slices the bride, slices back. Spoilers, Beatrix. Slices her in the back, and then she falls down, and O-Ren says, you might not be able to fight like a samurai, but at least you can die like a samurai. And then the bride fights her way to her feet and just says, attack me with everything you have. And it's like, oh shit, okay, cool.
Yeah, not like take it easy. I mean, like, she tenderized her right beforehand with like making her fight 70,000 people beforehand, but
The Crazy 88s, man. There's, And also, like, the Gogo Yubari fight is cool. Apparently, Gogo was supposed to be, like, two different characters, and, like, the bride was going to kill one of them. The other one's going to come for vengeance. Like, that girl is from Battle Royale. Shout out to Brian Rodriguez, because he covered that in Slumber Party. Quentin just loves Battle Royale, and so he's like, I want that girl in my movie, so he got that girl in his movie. But just, like, yeah, you fought all these people, like, all your best killers. Now you get the boss, right? And you still lose, but Yeah,
Which
I
is
mean, she's
very,
amazing.
like we were talking about, that's very Game of Death, right? Like she's fighting her way up the
The
ladder,
pagoda. Yep. Mm-hmm.
up the pagoda.
Because also like a cool moment is like she fights like a dozen people, right? Like Oren has her little entourage, and they've all got swords, and she fights everybody, and then like you hear like a stampede, and she's like, "You didn't
Literally,
think it was gonna be
yeah.
that easy?" And she's like, "Yeah, for a second there, I kind of did." And then like when you see the breadth of like who shows up, it's like, "Oh my, like come on!" It's almost like the same kind of thing like in Lone Wolf and Cub, where it's like, "Oh, he just fought like 8 dudes, like that's enough, like that's an amazing scene," and then like there's just an army full of guys. It's like, wait, what? Now what? Like it raises it to 11 because like you can, right? So it's awesome.
When I was watching it this time, there is so much fucking Lone Wolf and Cub in
Yeah.
these. It's just dripping. Not in blood, but in Lone Wolf and Cub
Also in
references.
blood.
Also in blood, but like in Lone Wolf and Cub references, just like the way everything's like set up and shot, and just it's like, yeah, he obviously was watching a ton of Lone Wolf and Cub and was like, yep, I'm gonna do these things. I like all of these things about this.
Like in the very first scene, like the very first action scene where she kills Vernita Green, and then her daughter walks in like to her mother's dead body on the floor, right?
Yep.
Uma says with her back turned, "It was not my intention to do this in front of you. For that I am sorry, but you can take my word for it. Your mother had it coming." I'm like, that's very Lone Wolf of her, just like very kind of stilted, formalized. I did not want you to see this. I did it for honor. I did it for vengeance. Like there was a reason for this. And then when you grow up, if you still feel raw about it, I'll be waiting. Like, but that first way she delivers it, just like, oh, that's like a samurai. Like, I have to explain this. Like, I had to do this, and this is why I'm doing it.
I'm now scared that you just pointed that out, that that's the way that Lone Wolf dies.
How so? Like someone explains to Cub why
Someone
he had to do
kills
this.
Lone Wolf and then goes, I didn't mean to do that. Like, it was never my intention to do that in front of you. If you ever grow up and want to settle this, I'll be waiting. And like that's the end of the movie.
Maybe. Very, very, very possibly. Like, I mean, like that also, that could set up a future Lone Wolf and Cub series that never happened because that kid, like we talked about, Daigoro, never acted another thing. There's also been rumors for a while that like Kill Bill 3 might happen. Spoilers for 2. Although you kind of know at the end of this movie, they tell you, but like it's got to be around BB and Vernita Green's daughter, right? Because like it just feels like, how do you not, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Just like we always want Brian and Dom's kids, right?
yeah,
Their
yeah.
sons to match up. Maybe little Nico too.
I'm just wondering if you do that, like, do you cast Maya Hawke, who is Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter? You like from Stranger Things and she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for like briefly. Like, do you cast her as BB, or do you get like not an actual, but like someone who's like a martial artist? I don't know. Because she could be, because like David Carradine's American and Uma's American. Like, it's not like she had sex with like a Japanese dude or what, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have, it's like racially, again, I don't know how to say this, but like it could work.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think Uma's daughter would put in the work to accomplish, to do it justice. Like if you got to play like your mom's role, or like a role that was like inspired by your mom somehow, you would probably try to do a good job.
yeah, I had a flash to Brian Rodriguez and Mr. Baseball with like, you like samurai swords, I like baseball. I'm just like, oh, Mr. Baseball, are you Mr. Baseball?
I didn't even think about baseball during this. You just brought her up, but Vivica A. Fox in this, and then seeing her in the whole fucking Lifetime series called like The Wrong whatever.
Yeah.
She's in
Yep.
every single one of them, and in every movie she delivers the line like, you mess with the wrong cheerleader. And I'm just like, what a world we've come to, right? Like she goes from one of the nastiest killers ever to the Lifetime series, the wrong cheerleader, the wrong grandmother, whatever. And it's just really funny to see, because we watch like so many of these movies with her. I haven't watched Kill Bill in so long, and she's much, much older now.
There's also baseball later when Gogo has her like death ball on a chain, and like Uma hits it back at her that she dodges, but like
leg,
with the leg, yeah. And then like when Gogo like falls, or she gets hit or whatever, and she falls, it sounds like bowling pins collapsing. Which I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, it was like baseball and bowling in the same like 3-second window.
Speaking of like the sound things, we had just been talking so much about like how they play with silence in Lone Wolf. Although this is like a lot more scored than that, there is lots of moments of silence when you only hear pitter patter of feet,
Yeah.
the slashing of a sword, or the blood spray. As much as it is a movie of now with like tons of soundtrack and score behind everything, he still incorporated some of the silence, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And like I noticed it more after watching Lone Wolf and Cub, that like, oh yes, it still exists here in some places.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I think it's just a matter of the franchise engine that is Fast and Furious, that is Marvel, that is whatever, right? Which is like we need to like louder, like the Transformers model, where it's like
Yep.
louder is better. If it's quiet, we're doing it wrong. Even though like Transformers, I think like is a good like I think the first Transformers is a really good movie when there's no robots on screen. Like the Witwicky stuff with like Shia and his parents, I think is really fun and engaging. And as soon as robots show up, I'm like I don't give a shit. Like when you have a director like an auteur or whatever, like somebody who actually cares, not that the other people don't care, but like that have more control over like the movie they're making, that aren't just making a $200 million blockbuster, you have the ability to like have creative choices, right? And like
Yeah.
do things like this. So it's cool. I like that it exists.
I like that it exists too. I don't know I wonder if we're ever going to look back on like Tarantino and be like, man, could they let anybody else try this? Because like they just give him like free reign to do whatever he wants with whatever actors he wants, and everybody buys in.
Well,
Just
I think there are other directors like that. It's just that he's the one doing these kind of movies. But like Fincher, like nobody says no to Fincher. Nobody says no to Paul Thomas Anderson.
That's true.
Nobody
That's
says
true.
no to like even young up and coming guys like Robert Eggers, who made like The Witch and then made The Lighthouse and is now making some crazy like Norse movie. Like there are certain people who like within reason, and then sometimes even without being in reason. Like nobody says no to Nicholas Winding Refn. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
certain
you're right.
people that like it's not like they have a blank check where it's like $300 million. Like they still have to like
No.
whatever. But like there are a lot of people. It's just not most people. But there's more than a handful, mostly dudes, mostly white dudes, who
all white
are
dudes.
just don't have to like go through the rigorous process of like getting a thing made, because they make a movie every 3 years or whatever, and it's an event.
But on top of that, it's like it's that, but also the thing that's like Tarantino's just a movie nerd showing you his favorite parts of like the past 50 movies that he was like, I love
Right.
these movies. And that's like the other half of this that I'm like, will we ever have somebody that's just like making homage films with like a great cast and as
I
weird as
don't.
they want?
I don't know. Like I don't know. Like I don't know if we have. Like he feels like a film historian and
Yeah,
preservationist in a way that other people aren't. But I don't think
yeah.
that people aren't because they're not allowed to be. I think they just kind of don't care to be.
We say this every time, right? He's never making anything original, right? It's just like bits and pieces of things he likes from other things.
Well, what's original is how he puts them together, right?
Yeah. That's true. It's not like it's completely just plagiarized or something. Like he's putting them together in an interesting, fun way. But at the same time, it's like I think that other people have more aspirations to make a new, fresh story, and he's like, no, like I just want to show you guys. Like I know that like the people that like these on the grand scale. Like, there's going to be a lot of people that see this movie that really like this movie and then try to find out what I got from this and then eventually go back and watch the original movies, right?
Well, I mean, like you could even compare it to like I think there might be like an easier comparison with music or whatever, where like you have musicians or you have DJs who like make their own stuff, and you have somebody like DJ Shadow or like the Hood Internet who like exclusively or almost exclusively like exist in the realm of like taking things that already exist and making a new story out of them. And like DJ Shadow like taking things and sampling and like adding in like his girlfriend at the time or whatever, like singing 4 lines of a song, but like they're doing what Tarantino's doing. Like it's
They're
about the
100%.
finished product, right? So I don't know. Here's a question for you.
What?
So we know that the Oren Ishii fight is essentially very heavily lifted from Lady Snowblood, right? Like
Yes.
it's different, but like it's paying homage to that, like it's in the snow, it's two
Yep.
women fighting, whatever. Is it more impressive, less impressive, or does it not matter knowing that that existed already? Like if you did not know that was an homage, like if it was purely original, would you think that's seen as cooler? Do you think it's cooler that you know that it's an homage, or does it not impact you one way or the other?
In the global answer to that, it's probably personality based. For
Mm-hmm.
me, I think that it's cooler knowing that it's an homage. Because, like you
Okay.
said, you can make like a shot for shot remake of anything, and that doesn't make it cool. It's the way that he presents it and the way that he intertwines all of these moving pieces at the same time to give you it to be like, oh, we're watching it, and they're like, oh, that's Lady Snowblood, but then there's like so much Lone Wolf and Cub, but there's also so much the whole scene with Vivica A. Fox, like there's like a big blaxploitation influence, right? And like these kind of things, and you're like the way that he's weaving them together becomes even more impressive for me. So although that he's not using like a totally original scene, he still recreates it, does a really good job at it, and then intertwines it with other things, and I think that that builds for me.
I think I agree. I think I mostly agree, and I think that, you know, if I didn't agree, I wouldn't like his movies as much as I do. I don't know if it says it works better, but like it's different in Death Proof, I think, where like it feels like he's still paying respect to these old things, but kind of telling a more original story.
Yes.
And here it feels more so like, oh, this is from this, and this is from this, and this is from this.
Yep.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I am a little bothered by the Buck line because it's just like, come on, like I thought that was like I thought that was an original. Like it's not. I'm just like, well, like just like lines of dialogue. Like who gives a shit that you're referencing Toby Hooper? Cool. Like come up. Like I don't know. You know, like it's. Like, there's certain things that, like, kind of irk me, but it's also, you know, he's doing a thing, like you just said before, doing a thing that nobody else is either doing or doing to this extent or doing to this, like, level of success. And so, for that, like, it's worth applauding, I think.
I can't find anybody to compare it to. I don't know that anybody's doing it better, right? So, I don't think that we will find someone that does it this well for a little bit, for sure.
There is a movie that I actually watched at your house, and I don't remember why, because it's like 54 minutes long, but I woke up before you one day, and I think I just had downloaded this or something. It's called It Felt Like a Kiss, and it's from 2009. It's directed by this guy, Adam Curtis.
Okay.
Remixing. This guy remixes archival footage and U.S. pop music. It's not original, like it's kind of like a mashup. He's making a new movie, but he's not filming new things that are referencing other things.
Yeah.
But like he's still remixing it in a way. It's not exactly the same. It's similar. It's different. Whatever. But like other people are doing this. But this is also a thing that's like seen by like 1,500 people on Letterboxd. Like it's not popular, and it's also not what Tarantino's doing.
There's a difference between remake and remix, and
Yes.
remake is what he's doing, and he's also remaking it at the highest level with like top tier actors, top tier everything. So yeah, that's what makes it a little bit different.
Because, like, you know, Brian on his show just covered for the last, like, 5 weeks, or 5 of the last, like, 7 weeks by the time this comes out, Gus Van Sant movies, because he did, like, 5 high school movies, and Gus Van Sant sort of famously known for recreating shot-by-shot Psycho, and it's like, why? He's like, I just wanted to see if I could do it. And, like, you could, but, like, why bother?
Cool. Yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, cool. In the same sense that the other half of Quentin Tarantino is Harmony Korine, right? That's like making like the weirdest, most original stuff, went through a very similar trajectory in my opinion, and like got to a point now where he's like, okay, I'm gonna get a bunch of actors to just do something fucking weird that I had this like stone dream about one time. It will not make that much sense, but like it'll look great and like it'll still work. I don't know. I just put them in like this weird upper category that they're just like brains are existing on like a different level. So it's like in a strange way. I mean, obviously Tarantino is just cocaine, but for Harmony Korine probably cocaine too. But at the same time, like they're just like thinking of stuff at like this weird, like peering into it. It's strange.
Like, I think there are far more people who do what Harmony Korine does. Like, I don't know that it's not
I agree. That's true too. Yep.
But there's far more people blazing their, like, no pun intended, blazing their own path and like being like, I have this weird vision. I'm going to do this thing, and I might not get to make 5 or 6 or 7 movies or whatever he's made, but like I have access to these actors and these cameras and whatever, and I'm going to make a thing that like I've always wanted to make. And I think, I'm not saying it's better or worse, but I think what he's doing, I mean, he also kind of set up, there's like the Dogma 95, which Brian also talked about on the show, but like Harmony, like these like handful of filmmakers in the 90s were like, this is the only way you make movies. Because like you watch Kids and you're like, oh my God, like nobody's making movies like this.
Yeah.
And then you watch movies like Spring Breakers, you're like, a lot of people are making movies like this, but not exactly like this, right?
Yeah.
Because you also look at Tarantino and like the movies he was making early on, Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, like sort of had been making, but these felt grittier and more honest and real. And like you can tell that he's doing something new because then you watch movies of the next 15, 20 years and they're all trying to do the exact same thing
that he was doing.
And all failing miserably for the most part. I mean, some of them do well, but like,
I agree.
You know, when you're doing something that resonates, that feels new and feels like, oh shit, like people do try to do the same thing.
You know what's weird? I think that it feels so much better because Tarantino goes to the source material and everybody else feels like they go to Tarantino.
Yeah, it's like when you're writing a paper. It's like, I'm going to go to Wikipedia. It's like, well, why don't you go to the, like, wiki sources where they get the shit from? So just go there. It's like, nah, this is easier. It's like, well, yeah, but like, you know what you're doing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like he's like, oh, like I got all of these things. You can point out exactly where he got them from, and you like them for the original things. And everybody's like, let's do what Tarantino did. And you're like, yeah, but he's copying the other guy. So then it gets like, you lose resolution, man.
I mean, sometimes it works though, because like you find you're like, okay, my favorite band is Radiohead. Like, let me go find out who Tom York's favorite band is. And like, they're going to be my next favorite band or whatever. Like, sometimes that works. And so sometimes you can like, you're inspired by Radiohead. It was inspired by X. It was inspired by Y. It was inspired by Z, all the way back to whatever. You know what I mean? And so Tarantino inspired people, I'm sure, brain farting right now on who it is, but like, I'm sure he's inspired lots of people who like have made legitimately great movies, and also just like 90% of what has tried to imitate is just unwatchable dreck, which is like, you can't write cool people because like it's hard. Like, it's hard to write like charming criminals.
It really is. It really, really is.
So,
I've seen a lot of bad experiences of that, for sure.
I think it's very cool that on the airplane you can see the strings. I don't know if you can see on the HBO Max if like the resolution, but like on the Blu-ray you can see like the airplane flying in the air. Like, it's clearly a toy. You can see the string. Like, it's
because it like the tilt of it like is really, really off. I also like that she flies commercial and everybody just has katanas on the plane.
Yeah, that's what I wrote that down. So like she's like in first class, but she's on just like a regular flight, right? And
she buys a ticket at a counter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okinawa one way, and then Tokyo or whatever. Like, and so she is sitting in a seat, and she just has a sword next to her, and there's somebody else that we don't see also with a sword. It's like, what?
There's
what?
three. There's three in that shot. There's like the person that you're the vantage point of, and then like also like the guy behind her also has a sword. And I'm like,
I missed that one, but oh geez, okay, cool.
So I'm like, everybody just carries swords on this plane, like, and you don't have to check them, because that's when she got the Hanzo sword, and I was like, oh, she flew commercial. I remember she flies commercial. Like, damn, is she really gonna check this Hanzo sword? Like, she must really trust JAL Airlines to get this sword there. And I'm like, oh no, she doesn't even have to. She just sits it right next to her on the plane, totally fine.
My only other note that I wrote down for this is this. I didn't realize this in the moment. I just thought it was a funny line, but now I wish that like Sean's dad said this to Sean in Tokyo Drift when she fights. Actually, okay, so
what?
A couple more Lone Wolf and Cub things. So.
Okay.
In the Crazy 88s thing, she cuts swords in half. When I talked on the Lone Wolf Cub episodes, I'm like, it just feels like he has a stronger sword because he's like cutting through swords. Like, people are blocking him and their swords are breaking. So like, it just feels here. That's why you go get a Hattori Hanzo, right? Because it's just like, this is the best sword.
Yep.
I also like that people collapse. Like you pointed out, like in this movie, people collapse at the same time, just like you pointed out, like Lone Wolf's enemies do. Like when he kills those three women in Shogun Assassin or like in one of the first two movies, they all like freeze and they all fall at the same time. He said like very cinematic, whatever. It happens here too.
Yep. I noticed that, and that was like part of my, like, he really jacked a lot from it, like all of the cool parts from it.
And so in this movie, when she is fighting the Crazy 88s and she gets into that room and she's fighting that one dude and she's like, the lights come back on, like Sophie turns the lights back on, and it's just like this like 15-year-old kid, right? And she like slices the sword, she's like chopping it off, and then she grabs him and she spanks him with the sword and she says, this is what you get for fucking around with the Yakuzas, go home to your mother. And I really think that would be funny if like Sean's dad like took Sean and put him over his knee, which is like, this is what you get for fucking around with the Yakuzas, go back to your mother.
No, he would have said, this is what you get for racing, not for fucking. He didn't care about his Yakuza involvement.
True.
He just only cared about him smelling like gasoline. That was it.
But it also would have fit. But yes.
I understand totally. That would have been really awesome if he would just like bent him over and. I want the old lady eating noodles to bend him over and spank him with a sword.
Yes, disrespected the old Asian woman eating noodles next door, watching her game shows. Any other notes you have for Kill Bill 1?
Last thing, because we talk about this a lot in Fast and the Furious, especially when we were talking with Kara about like the fashion in it. The first jacket glove combo that Daryl Hannah has on with like the belt like drawn on it is so fucking fire.
But the Daryl Hannah has so she's in the nurse's outfit.
No, she comes in a different outfit, and like the jacket and glove
yes
combo that she has on is so fly, and I'm just like, oh my god, I love everything about this. This is like just such a great outfit that gets overshadowed by the nurse's outfit so much, and like that jacket is just like one of the coolest fucking jackets I've ever seen in my life, and I just needed to point it out because it makes me really, really happy. Like the belt drawn across it,
but
then
looks like she's in Jet Set Radio Future,
right? Yeah, it's like cell shading for a real piece of clothing. It's so cool. When there is the shot of Bill over the bride, like when she first wakes up and she has like the memory of it, the shot of him shooting her is so much like engine zoom in Fast and the Furious. It's really funny to me. Like he like cocks back and then like the trigger, and it goes from like
Oh,
trigger
yes.
into
Yep.
the gun through the bullet, and I was like, this is so much like every time we see Nos being shot in Fast and the Furious, but completely different.
There's a Nicolas Cage movie called Lord of War that opens with you following a bullet from like it being manufactured to it being shot out of the gun. It's just like, yeah, it's that to the extreme, right? Basically.
Yeah, I remember that movie. I've seen that movie.
Yeah, the movie's not great, but Jared Leto does do cocaine. He like outlines cocaine in the shape of a country, like in the shape of like Turkey, not Turkey or something, but like some European country, and then like does the cocaine. So like, that's a cool thing that happens.
Wasn't he doing cocaine with gunpowder at one point in that movie? I feel like that was the thing that I remember. It's like he like does half cocaine, half gunpowder, but I could be making that up.
I don't know. I don't remember. I've seen that movie multiple times for obvious reasons, but I don't remember.
Okay.
All right, let's watch the trailer for Kill Bill 1. So there is our boy Movie Clips Classic Trailers. We're going to skip that one. We're instead doing Miramax, which is the company that made this.
Yeah.
Kill Bill Volume 1 official Green Band trailer. Oh, actually, this is the... I don't know that there's a... Hold on, because Red Band is like the So let's hold on. I'm going to send you this different one instead. Movie Clips Classic Trailers. This is the one that's the first hit on YouTube. 2.8 million views. Kill Bill Volume 1 2003 official trailer. Uma Thurman Lucy Liu action movie HD. 2 minutes and 32 seconds long.
Whenever you're ready, tell me.
3, 2, 1, play.
Okay. I thought that I didn't click play, but I did. Just rolled that for a while.
And there's the bullet. There you go.
Yep, the whole thing.
Not too long ago, I was quite the professional.
Oh, I think I might have told this story in this podcast before, but when I saw this movie in theaters, not this movie, when I saw this trailer in theaters, at the end, it says Kill Bill Volume 1. Like from Quentin Tarantino, Kill Bill Volume 1. And I didn't know who that was at the time. And I was like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? That he's going to put out a movie that's called Volume 1 and think he's going to get a Volume 2. Not knowing that he changed film in the 90s, right? So,
yeah.
I suppose it's a little late for an apology, huh?
You suppose correctly.
I love the eye shots in this, too.
Yep.
They're all so good.
Get even, Steven.
Also, the song "Please Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood" by Santa Esmeralda. Like, this is the O-Ren song. Like, it's just so goddamn cool.
That's the other thing when we were watching it. Rachel was like, I forgot how much I love the soundtrack in this.
I listen to the soundtrack a whole lot, like, and there are like 3 sound effects, like the when they're fighting and like they throw the axe. There's that like sword sound or whatever. Like those are on the CD too. I'm just like, I don't need these. You can keep these. I don't need these.
I definitely don't want those.
There's the jacket.
No kidding, I heard it was kind of hard.
Also, the shot. Maybe the cool moment is when O-Ren and her crew are walking down the hallway.
Yeah.
To this song and
Yes.
just like zooming in like it's just like it's like god damn it, like I don't know how you don't think that's the coolest thing in the world.
This trailer feels like a trailer you'd see in a movie theater. I don't know what it feels so movie theatery to me.
Yeah. There's the dude.
Yep.
Getting spanked.
You didn't think it was going to be that
Yeah.
easy, did you?
The axe.
For a second there?
Also, like you see this trailer, you're like, I need to see this fucking movie.
That's what I'm saying. It's such a well-constructed trailer.
Also, what I love about are we gonna get a toe in the trailer or just her talking to her toe?
Oh, I want to talk about that too. I forgot to mention that.
What I love about the Volume 1 this October, I'm just like, okay, cool, guy. Good luck with getting your second movie made. Because I was like 14 and dumb. At the end of that fight where she's like standing on the balcony, she just killed the last person. She's like, any of you like still lucky enough to have your lives, you can leave, but leave your limbs, they belong to me. I'm like, what are you going to do with them? Like, what are you doing? And it's like, except you, Sophie. And just like, poor Sophie. But, Sophie deserved it.
The other thing that I noticed for the first time watching it this time, the 5, 6, 7, 8s have no shoes on, and there's multiple foot shots of them in this movie too.
Cool.
Yes.
That's also like a sort of a famous story about them that like he was just like in a record shop in Japan and like heard them on the thing and just like, I need this song, I need this band in my movie. And so like, that's what happened. But I also need their feet in my movie.
I think that's what happened.
Cool, man. All right. Letterbox game. So for reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road has been seen by 800,000 people. It cracked 800,000. Oh, no. It rounded up to 800, but it's 799,688. So it's it says 800, but we're going to be there by the next time we do this.
Okay.
Maybe on Friday, right? So
Okay.
maybe. Kill Bill Volume 1.
Oh, God.
2003, directed by Quentin Tarantino, starring Uma Thurman, Lucy Liu, Vivica A. Fox, and Daryl Hannah, has been seen by how many people?
I gotta go 600,000.
You are too low.
Okay.
Yeah.
725.
You are too low.
800,000.
784. 784, 317. This is the closest I think we've ever had a movie to
Mad Max.
Mad Max.
Yeah. Insanity. I mean, like, I knew it had to be crazy high, right? Like,
Insane, yeah.
yeah.
Also, I sent you a thing. So apparently, I Letterboxd sends out these like monthly newsletters or whatever that I
This is
skim.
funny. Yeah.
And they have like popularity, but then also most logged. And popularity factors in like reviews and comments and likes and everything like that. So like the most popular film I think on Letterboxd of all time is Parasite, because just everybody like whatever. But like Mad Max, which we used as our basis, is like 25th or something, right? But like there's difference between popularity and it doesn't matter, whatever. So I was just like, oh, we're kind of like understanding how the game works now, sort of.
Yeah, we were, and we were like, yeah, like, well, it's not the most popular movie, and it's like, well, we've been using this yardstick for fucking years now,
Right.
so what's the point of changing
Like,
it?
you know,
Like,
in Inception, we said, right, is like over 1 million people.
no, it was Parasite that was like crazy high.
Well, no, I think Inception. So Inception's been logged 1.1 million times.
Okay.
Parasite's been, they've both been 1.1 million. But yeah, it's still a fuck ton. Okay. So now I think you actually might be able to get this. How many, on the first guess I'm going to say, how many people have this in their top 4? Average rating of 4.1, most common a 4, then a 5, then a 4.5.
I'm gonna say 400.
400?
Yeah.
You're way too low.
I was just thinking, like, it's kind of, it's like older now, right? So, like, as much as people like it, I know that people change their stuff, and there's, you know, okay, 6,000.
Too low.
10,000.
10,000 people.
Damn.
They just round by that point. They don't even have like sub breakdowns.
Yeah.
10,000 people have this movie in their top 4.
How'd you pick one?
Clicked and clicked and clicked and clicked and clicked and clicked and clicked.
Yeah.
I just scrolled through every page until I saw people, like everybody that had more than one review. I clicked on their profile. I'm like, we can't play with any of these people. But I found Beatrix.
Beatrix.
Her third review says something along the lines of, you know, us having the same name makes me like this movie even more. But her first review, watched 2 years ago, 5 stars. I already asked my mom for a katana for Christmas. I was like, Beatrix, you're fucking cool.
She's cool. Probably 12, but cool.
She's from Italy. I love horror movies, chick flicks, and Drew Barrymore. So 3 for 3, all cool things.
Okay, nice.
Okay. Her top 4 favorite films, all, I don't know if I would call the first a chick flick. They all kind of sort of fit into those in a way.
50
Kill Bill
First
Volume
Dates.
1.
50 First Dates.
No, they're all, I think, critically and objectively great movies.
Okay, okay,
Kill Bill Volume 1 is her third favorite movie.
okay.
Her fourth favorite movie was my favorite movie from 2 years ago. So not the pandemic year, but the year before that. Do you remember what my favorite movie was? It's a horror movie.
A
No.
horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Get Out?
No, that was before. That was a year or two before.
Not like
even
The
like
Guest?
2016.
The Guest?
No, The Guest is earlier than that.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I
more
thought.
recent. More recent.
Recent than that.
And this is made by a guy who has made 2 movies, both horror movies. I think you've seen. I'm pretty sure you've seen them both. I think you like the first one better. And they both came out in the last like 5 years. This also stars one of my favorite actresses.
Yeah. One of your favorite actresses, too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Midsummer.
Oh, okay. No, I never saw Midsummer. I was like putting
Oh.
it off.
But you've seen Hereditary, right? Or no?
Yes, I have seen Hereditary.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you'd seen both and you loved Hereditary and you only liked Midsummer. But I guess
We
you haven't
really
seen
liked
Midsummer.
Hereditary. We always wanted to watch Midsummer, but it was like so long.
Yeah, and the director's cut, which is better, is even longer. Yeah,
Yes, and that's what everybody
standard is
told
like
us.
2.5, and the director's like 250 or something.
This
like
okay,
that,
so this is what it was. We were gonna watch it, and then everybody was like, "Well, the director's cut's gonna be coming out," and then like we were like, "Okay, we're gonna watch the director's cut," and then like the director cut was like what, like 3 hours more.
like 250, I think 245 or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So that's number 4. Number 3, Kill Bill. The top 2 have each been covered on our podcast network, and not by us.
Okay.
Number 1 was covered by me and Mike, and I will say Kara, as a hint, on Cinemakers. Brian also covered on his podcast. And number 2 was covered by Winona Forever, the Winona Ryder podcast, and has not yet been covered by Brian, but could be covered by Brian. So they're both high school movies.
So
Both
one has
from-
Winona in it.
Yep.
2 high school movies.
The Winona one from the 80s and the high school one from the 90s. And the high school one from the 90s that I covered with Mike and Kara is, I don't know if you'll remember this, is the movie that I relentlessly ragged on Brian for not having covered.
Clueless?
Clueless, number 1.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Okay.
So a Winona high school movie from the 80s, which is objectively a great movie.
I don't know what it is.
That I'm guessing Rachel would love. I'm guessing she has seen and she loves.
I don't know what it is. I don't know the Winona High School movie from the 80s.
It's actually probably what Young Rock gets a fairly big character naming convention from.
Fine Ass Karen?
Mm-hmm. But, so there's like 3 or 4 Karens, and then there's their driver.
Oh. What is it? I don't know.
Heathers.
Oh, yeah, I've never seen Heathers.
Where there's like 3 Heathers, and then Winona plays Veronica.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good lineup, though.
Yeah, man. Beatrix, Clueless, Heathers, Kill Bill, and Midsommar.
Clueless, Kill Bill, and Midsommar is a really good top 3.
Love those 3 movies. And Heathers I haven't seen in a while, but her her most recent list on here is teen angst bullshit. Every coming of age I've watched and loved.
That's awesome. We should let Brian Beatty Wapfee her, because that's right up his alley, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna follow her and like this review. Cool.
I'm sure she's 14, but that's really cool anyways, so.
I mean, everybody on Letterboxd is like a 17-year-old gay high school student, so.
That's probably true, yeah.
No, not probably true. Like, they're either like a professional film critic, an aspiring film critic, or a gay high school student. Like, that's just what and then me. Like, it's just, I don't want to be a film critic, and I'm not a gay high school student. Like, it's just, I'm way in the minority, and I'm happy to be there, because, like, everybody else is more creative than me.
That's really funny.
So, shout out to them. Well, on Friday, our next episode, Kill Bill Volume 2. So, very excited for that.
I'm excited. Like I said, because I haven't seen these in a while. What were you saying? Like, when he recut them together, what happens in the middle that, like,
so there's
changes?
the whole bloody affair, which they do not decolorize the House of the Blue Leaves.
Cool.
Or whatever. At the end of this movie, when Sophie and Bill are talking, and they say she doesn't know that her daughter's still alive.
That's what I thought it was.
They cut that out. So, like, at the end of this, like, 4.5 hour whatever movie, or 4 hour movie, or whatever it is, then it, like, really hits you like a gut punch, because it's like, oh, shit, she had a daughter this whole time, and I didn't know.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
It's the kind of thing that I think would probably be better. Like, it's the same thing where, like, Zack Snyder, when he makes a 2-hour movie, it's like, I don't know what this is. And then when he is allowed to make it to 3 or 4 hour movie, it's like, oh, this is amazing. I'm not saying, like, I think Kill Bill is a much better movie than any 2-hour Zack Snyder movie, but, like, Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair, the two together, like, would probably be my favorite Tarantino thing, because I think it's the movie he wanted to make, and Hollywood is basically like, that's when they're like, we can't put out a 4-hour movie. Like, that's crazy. We're not doing that.
That makes sense. Nobody has it. Like, you can't. Why aren't they selling the fucking Blu-ray of this?
No, you can't even bootleg it. Like, that's my white whale. Like, that's the kind of thing that, like, you know, I've scoured like the darkest corners of the web, like what Mike calls the dark web. It's just like, it doesn't exist. Like, it's been screened. I think he screened at like the New Beverly, like the theater he owns and kind of runs in LA. Like, it exists. It just is not online. And I don't know why they don't. They have the rights to it. Like, they're still putting it on Blu-ray. I don't know why. I don't know.
Weird.
But yes, Kill Bill 2 on Friday on the regular feed. So if you're worried, I mean, join the Patreon anyway. $1 a month gets you in the door.
Yeah.
But free for everybody on Friday too. Just a bonus episode. Then next week, we've got our tune-up, relap, recap, where we say goodbye to Heather Antos. But Kill Bill 1 today, obviously you just heard it. Thank you for listening. And Kill Bill 2 on Friday. Any other thoughts, Joe, before we close up shop today?
No, that was fun.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page, TooFastTooForever.com. Our store, TooFastTooForever.shop. Come back on Friday for Kill Bill 2. And on Tuesday, 1 week from today, for tune-up, relap, recap, lap 8, to find out what next lap's theme is. And if you listened all episode long, you heard Jenny's cryptic email that was not cryptic at all. I just made it cryptic. You might know a movie we're doing, and then you can maybe extrapolate a theme from that. Who knows?
Maybe. Possibly.
I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And we'll tell you all about it
When we see you